The main character opened his eyes and asked what kind of place it was. He thought about what this other world was, then he saw a goddess in front of him and asked if it was a summoning. The guy remembered his past life, after which he said that he did not want to go where these guys were. To which the goddess replied that she understood everything. A few moments later, he opened his eyes and thought that he had had a strange dream. Then he wondered if he had been sleeping outside. After looking around, he asked what kind of place it was. The main character wondered why he was in the forest, if this was really another world. He thought that this couldn't be happening. When the guy heard his voice, he thought that something strange was happening to him. Then he looked at himself completely and asked where his school uniform was. After that, the guy abruptly clutched his head and thought about how he had really become a different person now. The main character said that this could not be, he did not understand anything at all. He had a look of panic on his face. Fujii was thinking about how he could calmly remember everything. First, he was with his classmates, and it seemed like he had just talked to the goddess. He remembered the last conversation about the summoning to another world and said that he didn't really mind. But if he went with these guys, he refused to do it. Fujii thought that maybe because he was stubborn, he was sent separately. And he doesn't have a call, but rather a beginning with rebirth. The guy decided to start by looking at his face. He went to a nearby river and looked into it. Fujii saw that he had a terribly cute face, fair skin, a fragile body, and his height also seemed to have become smaller. Then he touched his body and asked if he was missing. After that, the guy decided to pull back the edge of his pants to look there. At the same moment, he breathed a sigh of relief and said that his elephant was in place. The main character thought that it was somehow strange to feel it in such a body. It's a bit of a strange feeling, even sinful. Fujii thought about the fact that he had a backpack, so he decided that he needed to check his gear first. He saw that he had some food and the most basic things. He also saw a bag of coins and wondered if it was really money, even though he didn't know how much it was worth. Fujii looked at the contents carefully and asked where his weapon was, because monsters might appear. At that moment, he noticed something. An information window appeared in front of him, and he wondered if this was really the item box. There he saw that he had swords of various kinds, a shield and a breastplate, and also a potion. He was glad to be saved. According to Ranob, there should be more cheating skills. He asked to see his abilities. At the same moment, a window with his status appeared in front of them. He saw that he had a level 1 traveler skill, which was a bit weak for him. He also saw that he has unique skills, detailed analysis, and a subject box. Both are low level. Fujii asked if he really only had the skills of a toolbox and detailed analysis. Is this really his cheating skills? He exhaled and thought about what was most important in this world of information. Therefore, he will think positively. After that, the guy decided that he needed to analyze everything. He used his skill on literally every subject and decided to use it even on the terms that appeared. It looks like his item box has special properties. He can use the quick equipment function. You can set everything up in advance, put on the equipment right away. It's convenient. It turns out that the more important thing is not the character level, but the class level. Skills depend on the class. The more often you use them, the higher the skill. It seems that in this world, class is a key part. He wondered what a traveler was like. Although, to be honest, this world is very similar to the game, but it's even fun. The guy wondered what would happen if he died here. He can't just check it out, so he needs to be careful. In any case, staying in the woods until nightfall is not an option. We need to get out. Monsters probably roam around here too. He has enough money, and he decided to head to the city first. Fujii decided to go down along the river. He saw a bridge in front of him and was glad that there was a road here. Suddenly, he heard something. Turning his head to the side, he saw that a carriage was moving there. After taking a closer look, the main character was very surprised. The first horse was ridden by a girl who was an elf. He waited for it. On top of that, there was a girl with animal ears sitting in the carriage. The main character realized that this was really another world, and he instinctively hid. At the same time, he looked at these girls and thought that it was wonderful. It dawned on him that maybe then he would get a lift to the city. But at that moment, the carriage had already gone far away. He was upset that it didn't work out. He screwed up. The guy didn't get upset. Even just seeing a fantasy race is a thrill. Motivation jumped instantly. He was walking along the road and saw the same carriage, after which he asked if they had been waiting for him. The main character took a closer look and realized that the road seemed to be blocked. He realized that something was wrong here, and then he ran in that direction. At this time, the girl with the animal ears was fighting back the enemy and saying that he was attacking. The elf girl said that it was an ambush, after which she shouted about full combat readiness. It turns out they were up against a lot of men. The bearded man said that they should step on the girls, they would take all the cargo, while he said that they should not kill the women. Fujii wondered if this was a bandit raid. Wow, this world is really creepy. There are more robbers than guards, it looks like everything is bad. The main character thought about helping them, but he dismissed these thoughts because he has no level at all, and does he really need to rush into battle with people right away? It's impossible, there wasn't even any tutorial. Fujii thought that he couldn't just stand there and watch, after which he grabbed his sword and rushed towards the bearded man. He immediately stabbed him. The impact was so strong that he lost his balance and fell to the ground. As it turned out, he cut the man in half. He couldn't understand it. This two-handed mithril axe is too strong. The other men saw that their leader had been defeated with a single blow. They began to feel a strong sense of fear. At that moment, the elf girl said that they needed to be attacked. After that, she used her windblade magic skill. The main character looked at it and thought that he saw magic. The situation instantly turned upside down. At that moment, one of the men said that he was not a good person. How dare he kill the leader? Even if he was small, he would still finish him off. After which this man rushed towards Fujii. When he almost caught up with him, the guy put his sword in front of him, thereby he pierced the man through. After that, the smell of blood made him feel sick, and he realized that this was definitely not a dream. The main character said that he had killed a man, but if not for that, he would have been killed. Do people really kill and die so easily for the sake of robbery? Such is the order of this world. He was very ill. An elf girl and a girl with animal ears approached him and asked if he had calmed down. To which he replied that now everything is more or less. They thanked him and said that because he had killed their enemies, they had a chance to counterattack. In the end, they escaped with only minor injuries. Fujii thought to himself that he had just stumbled. The elf girl apologized to him for not introducing herself earlier, after which she said that her name was Reincarnated. She was the head of the security of this merchant caravan. The main character held out his hand to her and told her that his name was Touya. He thought to himself that he had just written his real name, Fujii, as katakana. Reincarnated turned to him and told him that before she would give him to their master, Mr. Goltio, he should wash the blood in the river. Fujii looked down at himself and asked if they were offering to swim together. To which the girl replied that she understood that it was more convenient for a beautiful woman like him to travel disguised as a man. The main character tried to explain everything, but he was interrupted and told not to worry, everything would be fine, after which they began to take off his clothes. He asked them to wait, but the girl with the ears did not listen to him, after which she took off all her clothes, and then added that there was nothing to be ashamed of, at his age everything was still ahead. She began to undress herself. The main character thought that this world is too saturated for perception. They began to wash. After a while, when they had finished all the procedures, he thought that he had somehow managed not to give himself away. He saw a man standing next to Reincarnated. He was introduced to an imposing gentleman. It was Mr. Goltio, the head of the trading company. He turned out to be very friendly and offered to take him to the city of Kelnifi. The main character thought that it was very cool, he wanted to get there. He said out loud that it seemed to be an interesting place. To which the man agreed and said that the dungeon in this city is called the Baldark Labyrinth. For the sake of its treasures and drop-down items, many adventurers from all over the world come there. There is an incredible buzz here. Goltio said that he is currently doing business under the name of the Goltio Trading Company, with a base in Kelnifi. If Fujii wants to go to the dungeon, he recommends that you first register with the Adventurers Guild, after which everyone can enter the dungeon. Of course, to get rich, you need the appropriate skills and strength. Exploring a dungeon is a risky business. They usually go there in groups, but if there are too many people in the group, it is more difficult to share the reward, and if a person does not trust his companions, this is fraught with problems. Fujii said that he understood. He thought to himself that the dungeon is not the friendliest option for a loner. Goltio said that if he had the means, he could buy a servant and assemble a party with him. The main character asked in shock about the servant, and he thought to himself that they exist in this world. Although in fact it's more like a contract hire, they have their rights. If they are forced to do something that is not prescribed in the contract or treated inhumanely, then this violates the law. Goltio also said that he almost forgot, because he hadn't given it to the main character yet. The man held out 2 cards and said that this was the achievement card of the robber he had killed. The main character looked at the map in his hands and asked if it was really a record map, if it glowed a little, what was it all about? To which Goltio asked if he really didn't know. Fujii realized that he could use a detailed analysis. He showed that this card appears from the chest after death. They can be exchanged for money in management. He was shocked to think that the cards were really coming out of people. The main character laughed out loud and answered negatively to his question, after which he added that he had not seen this for a long time, but it was good. Goltio also told him to accept his gratitude for saving them, after which he took out a pouch. The main character said that he couldn't take the money, because that's not what he was doing it for, but just the body itself rushed forward. Goltio said that he was a noble man, but if he did not thank him, he would disgrace the name of the head of the Goltio Trading Company. So he asked to accept them for his sake. The main character thought for a moment and then agreed. The man said that they were almost there and the town of Kelnifi was already visible. The dungeon city of Kelnifi is a large metropolis, second only to the capital, thriving due to the dungeon economy. The name of the dungeon is Baldark Maze. He told Goltio that he was planning to stay in the city for a while. The man himself escorted him to the recommended inn and then paid in advance for several months of rent. He really seemed to like Fujii. When he went inside, he thought that this was his first place in another world. There was such an atmosphere here. And when he got to the room, he said that he was tired and was glad of the crib. The main character looked at his clothes and thought that they still smelled of blood. He needed to wash them before going to bed, after which he decided to go and get a basin. The hostess said that there is no running water in this city, and the magical circuits of the water mage stones are used as a substitute. Of course, there's no soap here, so you'll have to wash it with plain water. Fujii was upset that it didn't wash at all. The bathroom is a luxury item here. There are only a few public baths in the city. Private ones are only for the nobility. Usually the body is simply wiped with a damp cloth. The toilet is just a pit with a bucket at the bottom, no drain. Paper is expensive, so they use leaves. Apparently even this hotel is considered quite good. Of course, he expected difficulties, but the infrastructure in this world is simply terrible. When he got under the covers, he said that he was cold, but he did not have a change of clothes and he washed his only set. I can't even go out to eat like this, but I really want hot rice. At the same moment, the main character sneezed. He thought about checking how much money he had. Of the starting equipment from the goddess, 10,000 gyros. And from Goltio, similarly, 10,000 gyros too. Based on what the men said and what the analysis showed, the gyro currency in this world is approximately equal to 1 Japanese yen. The main character realized that he now has 600,000 yen. After that, he said that he could buy anything. Then he stopped himself and said that it was necessary to spend wisely, otherwise everything would fly away at once. First thing tomorrow, he would buy a change of clothes, and if he was going to go into the dungeon, he would need better armor. The main character was sitting near the window and looking at the street. He was thinking that those people must have also entered this world. Fujii said that he did not want to have anything to do with them, neither with them, nor with everything related to that world. He wants to forget everything. He's sick of just remembering. The main character clenched his teeth and thought that he didn't want to have to go through this even in this world. Yes, now he is no longer Fujii Yuji, now he is Touya. He should forget about the guy by that name and think only about the future. The main character has decided that in this new world he will live only as a Touya. He looked determined. He said it was great, solo play was his everything. He would get everything he could out of this world. Although after such a busy day, he falls off his feet, wants to sleep. At that moment, a window appeared in front of him in which it was indicated about the new item. Due to the increased skill level, skills such as detailed analysis, status management, and class customization have been enhanced. Now you can change the current status at any time. He couldn't keep his eyes open anymore. At the same time, in the capital city of Malgas, the girl who was Princess Ermerda was asking about what it all meant if they were sure, to which the men in front of her responded positively. The man with glasses said that they had double-checked several times. There was no mistake. There were several people among those called up from another world with the hero class. The princess said that she did not understand because they were called to save this kingdom. At that time, people were saying that it was tough, how to live without smartphones. The people here were kind of weird. And among the heroes, someone turned out to be a criminal. She exclaimed that this was some kind of nonsense. One of these men heard her last words and got angry. At the same time, the dark-haired girl was asking if Fujii was missing. She thought he had been with them all this time. She didn't understand where he had gone. She was mentally calling his name. The main character was sleeping peacefully in his bed at that time. Information appeared in the information window that he is a natural hero. The brunette had never been able to talk to him properly. If only she had the opportunity to see him again. Then the thought came to her that suddenly the main character was somewhere else, and now he was alone. It was hard for him. She stopped herself and said that it was useless to think about it. First she needed to do everything in her power, then look for him personally. She asked the guy to wait for her. At this time, in the royal capital of Malgas, Ermerda was standing on a platform in front of people, and one of these guys was asking her who she was going to teach here. The guy said he didn't care if she was a princess or someone else, but she pointed, ordered, and called him a criminal, after which he asked who they were to receive it. He also said that if they called them up without permission, and then they say they don't know how to get them back, is it really serious? The guy was very angry. He asked if they were bullying them, to which the princess told him to take it easy as she had said it was a request, not an order. Ermerda said that they had called them to save this kingdom from an impending threat. Now the massive appearance of monsters is beginning on the territory of the country. To prevent this, it is necessary to clear the first 10 floors of all the dungeons and destroy a certain number of monsters there. According to the records, this will stabilize the situation. If nothing is done, in a few years the monsters will break out of the dungeon, and the country will suffer huge losses. The princess turned to everyone and asked them to help them, while she called them heroes so that they visited the dungeons more often. She said that they would provide them with everything they needed, and they would live in the castle without needing anything. Yes, at the moment, the ritual of returning to the homeworld has not yet been found. The princess said that as soon as they complete their mission, they, on behalf of the whole country, guarantee that they will find a way to send them home. Ermerda also said that if they suddenly want to stay in this world after the victory, they will grant them a noble title. The girl standing nearby asked if it was really true that they could live in a castle with the status of a noble. At this time, the hero of the storm Hade Uchida said that therefore, they still have no choice. The golden hero Sadao Doi said that it was a dungeon or something else. It didn't matter to him, let them just give him something to smash. The man with glasses told him to wait. First of all, they need to take a peace education course. And during the first month they need to train in combat and magic. This is for their own safety. At that moment, the very first guy got completely angry, after which he turned to this man and told him to shut up while calling him names. It turned out to be the fiery hero Shinji Akaba. He said that they would do everything in their own way. He already wants to test what the hero is capable of. At this time, a man in armor approached the princess and told her to move away. Even if these people are heroes, then this is too much. But the girl stopped him. Ermerda said that she understood everything. If someone wants to go to the dungeon right away, then you can let them form squads and try. They will prepare equipment for them. The man asked her if she was sure of this, to which she replied positively and explained that if they wanted to, then let them do as they wanted. It was better than if they turned force against them. At that time, a brunette called out to her. Her name was Sayaka Itsukushima. She was an alchemist. The girl said that it seemed they should have another companion, after which she asked if she knew what was wrong with him. To which the princess replied in the negative and said that they did not know in advance how many people would be called up. According to their data, they are a group of 34 people. Sayaka looked around at everyone and realized that no one even noticed that the main character was not with them. People were just discussing the issue of the dungeon and who they surrendered to. At that moment, Shinji hit one man and told him to get out of sight. The girl thought that it was better to stay away from this guy and the others. Hate told him not to break his sandbag. Sayaka thought that it would be better for Fujii. At this time in the hotel, the woman asked Toy if he had eaten everything. They have such portions that girls usually do not finish. To which he simply asked her where it was better to shop here. The main character decided that it was time to go out into the city and look around. He took his bag with him and resolutely headed there. When he woke up and started washing, he thought that he seemed to have seen something in a dream, but he did not remember what it was. After he looked in the mirror, he thought that even after a night's sleep, everything did not come back. He looks like a boy, or rather like a girl. Inside, he's 18. After which he looked at his face again and wondered if he would pass for a younger face. Since he's been reborn, it's better to be a completely different person. Maybe then it's easier for him not to drag his past life with him. He decided to enjoy this world as a toy. The main character was sitting at the table. There was food in front of him. He thought about that steak in the morning, this portion. It was obvious that he liked it. It's a good hotel. He'll have to thank Goltio. As long as he can live here, he needs to figure out how he will earn money. Since he was in a city with a dungeon, he would make exploring the dungeon his immediate goal. He sat down at his desk, then opened the information panel and decided to think about what he saw last night. It seems that status setting and class management have been added to his skills. Thanks to the status setting, you can freely distribute STP points of characteristics. So far, he has 0, so it doesn't matter now. It will probably come in handy after leveling up. But the next point, class management, is much more important. Class change, you can select an available class at any time. Usually in this world, only temples can change classes, but he seems to be able to do it himself at any time. The main character was surprised by the information he received and thought that his gaming brain was activated. He imagined himself changing his classes. Toy thought that he could change the class on the spot, while adapting to the situation. The main character decided that it was cool. It looked like a cheat skill, so the more classes available, the stronger it would be. His basic skills now include being a traveler, a villager, a cook, a trader, and a loader. A villager by default, a traveler and a cook due to the fact that he walked all the time and cooked himself. Everyone has their own conditions. But with two special classes, the Avenger and the Hero of Rebirth, it's already more difficult. To get an Avenger, you need to survive more than 100 terrible situations and maintain the spirit of resistance, and for the hero to be recognized by God and reborn from another world. Touya didn't really like it. He thought that he didn't need to take revenge or anything. He wasn't going to take revenge even after he was born. Everyone should forget about it. And this rebirth hero is clearly his own unique class. If he starts using hero classes, there will definitely be problems, and he will be quickly identified. He decided that he would try not to use these two classes. He'll just be a villager or a traveler for now, and then he'll try to get a combat class. The main character has finally reached the city. He looked around, saw different people, merchants, interesting goods. As a result, it is the Goltio trading company that seems to keep everything in this city store, from everyday goods and food to weapons and armor. He reached their building and thought that it was very large. When he found it inside, he thought that it was like there was another store inside the store. It looks like a local version of a department store or shopping mall. Touya decided that it was necessary to take everything necessary for living in a hotel and then put it in an object drawer. A change of clothes, underwear, socks, that's enough. The main character also thought that he needed to get a spare weapon with armor, and he also needed to buy a potion. Then the guy wondered if it was even possible to handle it alone. And while he was in his thoughts, he was noticed by Goltio. The man said that he was glad that he immediately looked at him, to which the main character greeted him. The man asked if he was really looking for something. Touya said that he was starting to prepare for the dungeon alone, so he was thinking about what was best. Goltio immediately thought about his own words. After that, he turned to the main character and asked if he could give him some time. Then they started to go down to the basement. The men said that this was the floor where they put the servants. Touya told him to wait because he wasn't going to buy anyone himself, to which the man replied that he knew he wasn't thrilled with the idea of servants, but he thought it was better than risking it alone. They even have those who have already been to the dungeons. If the servant is bound by a magic contract, then they cannot be afraid of betrayal. A contract is a contract used to limit actions and maintain confidentiality. Goltio asked him how he liked the idea. Even just by looking at them, he might find clues, to which Touya said that he would just look. The guy thought that servants sounded unpleasant. Maybe it was normal in this world, but he didn't want to buy someone's life for money. He didn't want to be like those bad people. Although they say that sometimes both the family and the person themselves survive only by selling them as servants. If you think of it as a hiring system, maybe it's not that bad. At the same time, servants are divided into voluntary and controlled ones. The main character thought that his money was from this man anyway, since he had the resources. Maybe he should try to hire someone. In one of the cameras, the girl said that he was such a cutie and then asked if he wanted to be her master. And the second guy said that he could make him happy every night until the morning. The main character was very embarrassed by their words. Goltio said that such servants are expensive, he's just warning him. The man also added that within the budget of those who can go to the dungeons, he can probably only provide a specific list. There were 6 people standing in front of them, 2 of them were girls. The main character turned to his analysis skill and saw that all these people were of different classes and different levels. He saw that there was even a priest among the servants. They are all entry-level researchers with a single-digit level. But even so, they are stronger than any new peasant researcher. Those who are not peasants have basic skills and stats bonuses. Goltio said that if he needed someone of a higher level, it was better to look directly through the Guild of Researchers. Touya thought that for now he himself is a melee fighter with a sword on the front line. If you hire one, maybe it's better to hire a tank or a healer. He thought about the fact that he didn't like something. At 2 million yen, it didn't look like a profitable purchase. A heavy fighter was a willing servant, worth 200,000, and a priest was also worth 220,000. The main character remembered something, after which he turned to the man and asked if there was anyone like that elf girl yesterday, for example, a magician. Goltio said that magicians are rare, so servants are extremely rare. At the moment, there is no one he can recommend to him, to which Touya asked that there was someone after all. To which the man replied that among the controlled services who had committed serious crimes, there was one girl magician. The main character got caught up in the words about a serious crime, and then asked if he didn't recommend her to him because she was dangerous. To which the man replied that it was not a matter of danger. If he wanted to, he could take a look. But in her case, the reason is different. No one wants to take her even for a song. Touya wondered if this was some kind of flag scene. Is she really a difficult but charming tsundere, and therefore she will eventually get attached to him? When they got to the right cell, the man said that this magician was more than 300 years old. She was an old woman. and as a labor force she could not be counted on. The main character looked at her in shock and asked if it was really 300 years old. He thought that this was even beyond all his guesses. Goltio said that, they say, she had an explosion during magical experiments, and everything in the area was brought together by an explosive wave. She says it was an accident and it doesn't seem to be evil, but there is damage and a sentence of another 100 years. The guy was surprised again when he heard about 100 years. The man said that they say she has an admixture of elven blood, which is why she lives so long. According to the law, she will be sent to forced labor in the mine tomorrow. The main character thought that it would be hard for her at that age, but at the same time she had only a few days left to live. He exhaled and thought about what he had hit. Then he turned to the man and asked if he could talk to her, to which the latter said that if he wanted to do it, he could. The main character approached the camera, after which he greeted his grandmother and gave his name. Then he asked her if he could find out her name. At first, the old woman was silent, after which she said that her name was Annalise. He asked her if she had a place she wanted to go, to which the old woman said that if it was possible, she would like to get into the dungeon again. Touya said that he was buying it. He understands that this is purely for himself. After all, even after rebirth he is still the same, he has not changed at all. After a while, they went home together. He threw the old woman on his back and thought about what he was doing. Remembered how he also carried his grandmother on his back from the hospital. He remembered how Goltio had asked him if he was really sure about the purchase. The master of the servant was responsible for the maintenance. If he signs a contract, he will be responsible until the very end. The guy signed it silently. Touya was wondering if he was being too spontaneous, because he bought a servant on the second day after his rebirth, and yet she is an old lady. He still has enough money, and for a small fee she can live with him in a hotel, so there won't be any problems feeding her for now. When they got to the room, he thought that she should sleep on the bed while he slept on the floor. And even if they sleep together, nothing will happen. It would be creepy to wake up and find her cold next to me. At that moment, he could not even imagine that this old lady named Annalise would actually turn out to be an incredibly valuable person. It was the third day after rebirth. The main character woke up on the floor. He began to slowly open his eyes. In front of him was this old woman. He was scared, to which she apologized to him and said that she had taken his bed. He remembered that he had made an agreement with that old woman yesterday. He said out loud that she had scared him, but everything was fine, and then asked about her well-being, to which she replied that he made her feel better. At that moment, an incomprehensible sound was heard. The main character asked him if it was the sound of her stomach. She didn't answer. Then he said that he understood everything. Now they will eat. The two of them went downstairs, after which a dish was placed in front of them. The guy said that the fish dishes here are also in huge portions, so he suggested dividing in half. The main character turned to the old woman and asked if they would also order a meat dish. At that moment, when the old woman was eating meat, he was thinking about whether she was really an old woman. Judging by her teeth, she was still strong. The main character addressed her and called her grandmother, to which he was told that she was not his grandmother. Then he called her by name, to which she asked him to put the prefix san next to her name. Touya asked her if she had much experience exploring the dungeon, to which she responded positively. He replied that it was great. He wanted to ask about everything about the dungeons. She said that he could ask anything. The main character thought that although she looked weak yesterday, she seemed to have perked up from avoiding being sent to the mines. Maybe she was just hungry. He used the analysis skill on the old woman and thought that she turned out to be a high-level magician. And although she could barely walk and looked frail, he definitely couldn't compare with her in terms of parameters. She told him everything he needed as a beginner, from the equipment and rules for exploring the dungeon to registering with the Guild of Explorers, and also about the procedure for exchanging criminals' cards for money in the administration. The Explorers Guild is mostly full of melee warriors, and he hardly sees anyone with a bow. Students usually serve in the army. Arrows are expensive and individual researchers quickly go broke. They are used by the rich and the nobility. The main character asked about the average number of people in a group of 5 or 6, to which she replied that it was optimal in terms of the balance of forces and the distribution of prey. Touya asked if it was really too risky to go into the dungeon alone, to which she replied that it was reckless. At least you need a scout. Beginners are easily killed by traps and sudden attacks from monsters. The main character realized that he would have to ask for a group first, and he thought to himself that he would really like to avoid the risk of his rebirth being revealed. Annalise said that if she was with him, everything would be fine. She could find traps and monsters with magic. The main character asked if she could really do that. He thought to himself that it turns out that a magician is able to perform several roles at once. Then it is clear why they are so valued. Toy told her that there was one thing, it would still be difficult to take her with you to the dungeon. He should probably leave her waiting at the hotel. Walking through the dungeon with grandma on your back, it looks like some kind of torture. To which she asked him to take her with him. Analyst said that if she became a nuisance, he could just leave her there. She had to get into this dungeon, it was obvious how much she really needed it. The main character smiled and said that he understood everything, they would go together. He thought to himself that they would try to do everything they could. After a while, they reached the Daldark maze. He thought that he was finally here, and this was his first dungeon in his life. They passed through the portal and found themselves on the first floor. The main character said that it was more spacious than he thought and brighter than expected. Analyst said that this place is called the entrance floor. From here you can choose one of several routes. They branch off and converge again, but eventually lead to the boss room. Rather, it's not even a physical dungeon, it looks like a game subspace. He turned to the old woman and told her not to strain herself and follow him. He could handle the fight somehow. He thought to himself that the initial armor was too heavy, so he changed it to leather. Shocked, Analyst asked him what had happened just now, to which he replied that it was a fast outfit, a very convenient function of his item box. The old lady asked if he really had another item box, if he had been a loader before the traveler class. To which Toy replied that this was not the case at all, it was innate. Analyst asked him if it was a unique skill and if the sword in his hands was made of mithril. To which he asked if she really understood that, and then added that it meant he was really special. The moment he turned to her, he saw as if her soul was leaving her body. He started calling out to her and asking her to come back to Earth. Analyst said that she was amazed, his skill and this sword are extremely rare. It is better not to show them to people once again to avoid envy. Then she asked him to look ahead. When he turned around, he saw that the monster was already here. It was a gray rat of the first level. The guy asked her to wait, he's not mentally ready yet. The moment the monster started attacking him, he used his sword and cut her into pieces. The main character said that he had succeeded, an object fell out of it. It was rat meat. He thought that they weren't that fast with this sword, just one light strike would be enough. He turned to the old lady and told her to stay behind and just watch. She could only give him advice. What she pointed at in front of him, and he saw that there were now two rats in front of him, he didn't know what to do. While the main character was thinking about which one to attack first, Analyst used her fire magic. Toy was shocked. Two objects fell out of the enemies, sharp front teeth and rat meat. The old lady said that she was level 21 and the monsters on the first floor would not be able to compete with her. She also said that she also has the experience of a swordsman, she will correct all his mistakes. She also started correcting him that the stance should be different, he should put more weight into the punch. The main character thought that this grandmother was just incredibly cool. Maybe he really wasn't wrong when he chose her out of all the servants. Reborn anew, he found himself in this world. At that moment, he still did not realize how important clearing the dungeon was here. At this time in the royal capital of Margas, the action took place in the castle and people were asked if everyone was ready. They explained that those who want to go to the dungeon immediately are 14 people, including 3 heroes, led by Mr. Akaba. The rest will stay in the castle for now. They will start by learning the basics and training. Sayaka was among the rest. The princess looked around at everyone and thought about how it turned out that the group was perfectly divided into those who have criminal records and those who do not. Sayaka turned to Akaba and asked if she should get better prepared first, to which he asked her what she was commanding while he called her a chemist. A group of girls asked if they were seriously going to study even after they had entered another world. It will be much more fun here and studying will be boring. It's much more profitable to follow the heroes. To which the hero of the Azure Sea, Iki Mizusawa, said that rushing into battle without knowing anything about this world is simply unwise. They prefer to carefully sort out their strengths and capabilities. Akaba cursed and said that they were weak people, so they could stay here for the rest of their lives. The princess thought that he seemed to be a leader in that world too. Those who supported him and stayed here are acting cautiously and more can be expected from them. The problem is something else. And in that group of 10 heroes, among whom this leader was, he was especially different. According to his record card, among the crimes he committed were serious ones: assault, blackmail, and even arson. Obviously, he is completely indifferent to the interests of other people. He is extremely dangerous and capable of showing cruelty even to his allies. Even if he succeeded in clearing the dungeon, there was no guarantee that they wouldn't turn their weapons against them once their mood changed. Probably thanks to the powerful skills of the hero class, they will pass the initial floors without any problems. But then teamwork will be required, and here the question arises. The ritual of summoning heroes was officially announced throughout the country and funded by the state. This is an important national project, and failure is unacceptable. The princess said out loud that they say the dungeons in the royal capital are much more difficult than the others. Akaba immediately asked her what she was saying. Ermerda said that there was no need to rush from the very beginning. She asks them not to overexert themselves, feeling that they cannot cope, they must have the courage to retreat. To which Akaba got angry and said that it is precisely such moments that distinguish real heroes. The princess thought that they only had reckless bravery right now, and she wondered if she could guide them and make them real heroes. It became interesting to see what would come of it. It seems that each of them has their own thoughts on this matter. As it turned out, these were the thoughts of the goddess. She looked down on everything and said that she wished good luck to all the heroes. At this time, in the maze on the first floor. It's been a few days since the main character and the old woman started exploring the dungeons together. They decided not to take any chances and focused on leveling up on the first floor for now. The main monsters here were the gray rats, so they properly prepared their equipment and explored it without any problems. The level has increased and he is used to the battles. Now, even with a small group of weak monsters, he can easily cope alone. Although it's all thanks to Analyst, who detects enemies in advance with the help of magical perception. Monsters in the dungeon usually leave behind only dropped items, and the bodies disappear. Sometimes rare expensive items fall out, which is very nice. It's obviously hard for Analyst to walk all the time because of her age, but she's never complained. He decided that they would take breaks and rest more often. At that time, he addressed her by name and said that he wanted to discuss something. When he explained the situation, she asked him if he could really change classes on his own. At the same time, she said that they would eat first, to which he agreed. Analyst said that changing classes is usually only possible in the temple and costs a lot of money. To which he replied that he seemed to be able to do this thanks to the additional function of the analysis skill. The old lady asked him about what he had just said, to which the main character said that he had said about the analysis skill. Then she also exclaimed and asked if he even had the skill of analysis. After that, she asked about how many unique skills he had in general. In the end, Analyst asked him about who he was. Because he had a mithril sword, he was clearly not a simple traveler. To which the main character asked her to calm down, he would definitely explain everything to her, but later. He thought to himself that, to be honest, he didn't really understand himself yet. Today, he would like to consult on whether he should change classes before the battle with the boss of the first floor. He asked her opinion on the matter. When he looked through the list again, he saw that it looked like he could now choose the Explorer class, the one who explores dungeons. Basic skills, dungeon crawling and treasure hunting. Analyst asked him again about really being a researcher, and then added that it was really a great option. The researcher is a fairly advanced auxiliary class. He has very useful skills, but the class is not combat, so they are rarely used. Skills include a premonition of danger, an increased chance of dropping items, and others. The main character asked if this was a weak class, to which she replied that it was much stronger than a villager or a traveler, and the level was rising faster. It was a very profitable class for him. He replied that it was great. They were on the ground floor next to the entrance. At that moment, the guy decided that his first class shift was about to take place. At the same time, he chose a researcher. After the decision was made, his appearance changed a little. He got glasses on his forehead. It's incredible. They look very cool. The old lady thought it was very sweet. And after that, the main character decided to use the skill of moving through the dungeon. He held his arms out in front of him, his whole body as if clothed in magic. When he used his magic, he saw that a door had appeared in the wall in front of them. It was made of wood and had a handle. The main character opened the door and said that it was like a door to another dimension. He thought that everything was really possible in this world. He immediately found himself back where they had returned from last time. This fact surprised him very much. Analyst said that the door could be installed anywhere they were, but it disappears after one use. He thought about how this is a real cheat skill. It's incredible. True, it uses up a lot of magic power, but it's enough for the return trip. This will save them a lot of time, and most importantly, it will greatly ease the burden on the old lady. He was surprised that the others didn't use it. It seems that this class of investigators is usually used by experienced adventurers for a quick sweep. Conditions of receipt: reach the 10th floor of the dungeon or defeat more than 10 monsters alone. He had accidentally fulfilled a hidden condition. When he turned to the old woman, he saw that her soul was leaving her body again. He called out her name and asked her to come back to Earth. She explained that she almost died, after which she apologized to him and said that she had so many surprises in a row that she almost forgot how to breathe. Analyst asked him not to show anyone any class changes or dungeon movements. This is a source of problems. He agreed with her. The guy said that it was great. The new class seemed to be good. You can finish early today. You need to sort out the subject box. Then he turned to the old woman and asked if she was hungry, to which she apologized to him for asking a question unbecoming of a servant, after which she asked if he was a hero. The main character was afraid of her question, after which he abruptly turned away and asked why she decided that, and then answered her question in the negative. Analysts said that before she was sent here to Kelnafi, she was a servant in the capital. Back then, she had heard rumors of a large-scale hero summoning in the capital. 1 in 10,000 people can have several unique skills that are extremely rare. It's completely impossible for an ordinary person, she thought. Maybe he's connected to the heroes. She apologized to him and asked him to forget her words. He noticed an old woman like her. He brought her here to the dungeon, and whoever he was, he would always remain a benefactor to her. Analysts said that she doesn't know how long she has left, but she will be grateful to him for the rest of her life. The main character looked at her. He felt sad, after which he addressed her by name and already wanted to confess everything. Suddenly, he felt a strange sensation. She asked him what had happened, to which he replied that he wasn't quite sure, but it seemed the treasure hunting skill had been activated. Touya went to the wall and said that it was somewhere behind it, to which she replied that with the help of magical perception, she could not see any hidden doors. He asked if he could physically break through it, to which Annalise offered to try. At the same time, she used the physical magic of the mana hand. All her magic was concentrated in a huge fist. With the help of his fist, he managed to break through the wall. There was a secret room. When they went inside, they saw that there was indeed a treasure chest inside. He said it looked very expensive. Analysts said that at first glance it is clear that this is a high-level chest. Chests are rarely found on the first floor of the dungeon. Her magical perception doesn't sense traps here, but simple mechanical traps like poison needles are possible. If he was in doubt, she could do it herself, but he replied that it was fine. The main character thought to himself that he doesn't know why, but it seems to him that this chest is meant for him. He said out loud that he would open it himself. The opening of the chest was extremely easy. When he looked inside, he saw that there was a bottle inside. He asked what it was, while the main characters described the appearance of the bottle, which was transparent, after which he suggested that it might be some kind of potion. Annalise was more and more surprised with every word he said. She fell to the floor. The guy asked her about what happened. The old woman started talking about what was really happening. She couldn't believe that it really existed. Touya asked about what it is it really that rare? It was a curse-lifting potion that is created exclusively in dungeons and cannot be artificially produced. The price exceeds 100 million gyros. After that, the main character turned to Annalise and asked if this was the reason why she was so eager to get into the dungeon. The guy clarified and asked if the search for this potion had really dragged her to the dungeon, to which she responded positively, after which her body began to tremble. She said that after her body became like this, she couldn't explore the dungeon properly anymore. She tried to create it herself, but in the end, a terrible disaster occurred. Touya leaned over to her and wanted to ask about the potion, but she immediately stopped him and said that it was an incredibly rare potion that appeared on the market once a year or even less often. She asked him to take it to Goltio and exchange it for money. It's enough for her that it exists. Maybe someday she will be able to buy it herself. The old woman asked him to think calmly. If he sells it, he can hire as many people as he wants. This is not something that should be spent on an ordinary controlled servant for 200,000 gyros. The main character said that everything was clear to him, and then asked if she really wanted him to spend it on himself. The guy said that then he would not exchange it for money. Annalise immediately called out to him. At that moment, he began to open the bottle. The main character said that he was using this potion on his own friend, after which he asked about it because there would be no problems with it, and then began to pour it on Annalise's head. The old woman did not expect this. She tried to turn to him and ask why he was doing this, but she couldn't finish because she started coughing. It was obvious that she was not feeling very well. Touya immediately asked what it was, if it was normal at all. Was her body unable to withstand the effects of the potion? He cursed and thought that he should have given it in small doses. When the main character touched her body, he exclaimed that it was hot, after which he called out her name. Suddenly, the whole room was illuminated with a bright color. After a while, when the light disappeared, he saw that there was a young girl in his arms. He immediately asked who she was. Touya blushed and then he called her name. He thought to himself that he was feeling so soft. The girl responded to this name and confirmed his words. He wondered if she was too pretty. The main character turned away and said that he was happy for her. Then the girl realized that she wasn't wearing clothes, and she apologized to him for looking like that. Touya was shocked to himself. He thought that she had turned from a decrepit grandmother into a lover. The effect is stronger than he could have imagined. He assumed something like this, but the contrast is so huge that he just does not have time to understand what is happening. At this time, Annalise was thinking that the guy saw her without clothes, although they had already wiped her body yesterday, so now it's too late to be indignant. She turned to him and asked if they should return to the hotel, to which he replied positively and said that they needed to go to the hotel and she also needed to change clothes. The main character thought about how good it was that he had dungeon movement. They quickly reached the hotel, after which they entered the room. Then it dawned on the guy that now it turns out that he will constantly live in the same room with such a beautiful woman as his servant. It's been 2 weeks since they were called into this world. The class Sayaka was supposed to belong to was an alchemist, what is called an industrial profession that is not designed for combat. Besides alchemists, there are also herbalists, blacksmiths, item makers, and tailors. All of them hone their skills in the workshops provided. At this time, the girl said that the magic potion was finally completed. Another girl said that it had finally worked out. Sayaka is not directly involved in the exploration of the dungeon. Her task is to supply everyone with the necessary supplies and equipment. The hero of the Azure Sea and other guys with combat research skills are undergoing thorough training, testing their abilities. After that, groups will be formed to go to the dungeons. At this time in the Metropolitan Dungeon, the Jawl's Labyrinth on the 3rd floor, Akaba asked if they had become arrogant and then said that the scouts should work normally. He explained that because of them, they are constantly attacked suddenly. One of the guys said that he did not demand the impossible from them. He made them carry all the things, and then asked how they should also fight. The guy said again that it was impossible to fight normally with things. The girls who were standing on the sidelines asked if they would be back already, as they were tired, and the mister was over. Akaba said that these girls were already completely fucked up. He said that they themselves were to blame, because they were shooting magic wherever they got and creating a house. Until he gave the order, they should not go forward. The Golden Hero talked about why he was putting on airs here. Hayate said that he was weak and was pretending to be a leader. Akaba immediately turned to them and asked if they had said anything. After that, they started fighting among themselves. The girls who were watching them said that it had started again, how everything infuriated them. The remaining people started talking about the enemies coming again. After a while, they found themselves in the castle. The princess asked if they had retreated again because of quarrels within the team. At least no one died, that's not bad, it looks like they have some kind of prudence. At this time in the laboratory, the girl turned to Sayaka and asked her if she was okay, if she was too tired, and then asked her to rest. The girl's name was Konomi Mukumura, she was a herbalist. Sayaka thanked her and said that she would work a little more, after which she sent her to rest without her. To which Konomi asked her if she was worried about the main character. She also added that she hardly ever talked to him, so she doesn't know too much about him. But it seems that after the fire in his house, he stopped going to school. Then she continued and said that since he wasn't with them, maybe he hadn't come to this world. To which Sayaka said that she thought he was with them at first, although she couldn't be sure. The girl said that once the main character helped her a little, so this time she wants to help him too. She wants to go in search of him. Sayaka said that she was probably imposing, it was just her own desire. A light flashed in Konomi's eyes. The girl said that she was doing well, after which she handed her the potion and told her to drink it. She also added that she was happy for her, their chemist had grown so much. Sayaka said that she misunderstood everything, it's not like that at all. She thought to herself that she just wanted to meet and talk to him again. At that time, in the city of Kelnifi, which was located 1,000 km southeast of the capital, people were discussing that yesterday, traces of a top-ranked chest were found on the 1st floor. They thought about what it meant that they also had a chance since it was the 1st floor. They wondered who had found him. But there is no information about the finder or the contents, and no one is required to report it to the guild. One of the men said that he would also have kept quiet if he had found the treasure. This someone is very lucky. At this time, the main character abruptly jumped up on the bed. He wondered what was going on, if it was a hotel, if it was even a dream. The guy thought that it was some kind of strange dream, as if Annalise had changed. At that moment, he felt something soft nearby. As it turned out, it wasn't a dream. He remembered that the old woman had become younger. Now she looked like a young girl. After last night, Annalise, probably feeling relieved that she had become young again, cried like a child, and it was not easy. It is not surprising, because she has finally freed herself from the fear of dying at any moment from old age. Apparently, all the accumulated feelings broke out immediately. He even wiped her body with a wet towel, and since she refused to let him go, he had to sleep with her until she calmed down. The main character thought that, of course, nothing had happened. At the same time, he thought that this was probably true. The guy decided to wake the girl up and invited her to have breakfast. He also said that they still needed to go shopping, so he offered her to take his spare clothes for now. The girl woke up, rubbed her eyes, called out to him, and then realized that she was on the bed without clothes. She immediately threw herself on her knees and began to apologize to the main character, after which she asked if they had really done this. The guy started to panic. The girl continued and said that how could she, a servant like her, she would not be able to repay his kindness even after 300 years. The main character asked her to calm down, and he also asked her not to think about any gratitude or debt. Touya asked her to stop all this talk about servants and masters. It was just that there was a person in need of help and there was a potion nearby. They were just lucky. Besides, if she lives a long time, it will also be a success for him. Then he pointed out to her that she should pay attention to these words. It's good for both of them. The girl was crying at the time. After a while, they went down to breakfast. He thought that she was eating a lot because she was trying to gain strength, but it turned out that she was just eating a lot. The main character looked at her and laughed, while he said that Annalise remains Annalise. She apologized to him and said that it was just delicious. After that, the guy looked at her figure and thought that he understood everything. Of course she needed to eat more. He asked her out loud if they were going to buy equipment. After a while, they found themselves in the Goltio trading house. The girl tried on an outfit. He thought it was great. She asked him if he liked it, to which he thought that now she was just like a grown-up sister. After the shopping was done, they found themselves back in the dungeon. The girl said that the body has become very light, the magic has become much better, she is in great shape. She easily dealt with all the enemies. At one point, she shouted at the main character to duck, as arrows flew in their direction. She used her sword to deflect each of them. Annalise apologized to him and said that her magic was too strong, and she even activated long-range traps, and then asked if he was injured. She also explained that she had used a rapier before, so knocking down arrows with a staff was not a problem. Touya wondered who this girl was. She seemed to be stronger than him even in close combat. He thought her deep knowledge and high level were related to age, but in fact she was only 18 years old, and he wondered if she was a genius. The main character realized that this was not the case. She must have worked very hard. He was very serious at that moment. The guy thought decisively that he also needed to try. First, he had to catch up with Annalise. They approach the boss's room, and the guy starts to worry. The elf says they can handle her mithril sword if they act coolly. The guy says he'll try to handle it himself. He asks her to help if it gets dangerous. The boss of the first floor appears, a giant rat of the 6th level. The rat rushes at him, and he notes that it is very fast for its size. He thanks his armor for surviving and decides to focus on defense in order to study its movements. The young man notices that her attacks have a certain sequence, as it is a magical creature. He understands her tactics, 2 scratches and then full acceleration. The hero decides to launch a counterattack right now. He rejoices that he won the victory alone. The elf praises him, saying it was great. A message appears stating that the first floor has been completed, and drops appear. Elite rat meat and the tail of a large rat. He is happy that his level has risen and a new class has opened. The hero is in a state of euphoria, thinking that exploring the dungeon is so much fun and no game can compare with these feelings. He wants to test out a new class and is thinking of fighting the boss one more time. She explains that if you enter from the back, the boss will not appear, as you can only fight him once a day. It dawns on him that he can use dungeon movement. He thinks that if he returns to the boss's room by moving, then maybe the boss will reappear. The hero is happy that everything turned out as he thought. The boss appears again. He is thrilled that now you can quickly repeat the boss battle to upgrade and loot items. The young man was very tired after going through the dungeon more than 10 times and using all the potions. He's happy that even though it was hard, the loot and experience are incredible, and his stats have grown a lot. She praises him, saying that although he is a beginner and uses a sword uncertainly, he uses skills amazingly skillfully. Yuji thinks to himself that this is just knowledge from his past world. Since he sold the loot and now they have the money, the hero suggests celebrating his healing and having dinner somewhere. The elf takes him by the hand and calls him master. Annalise says that from the moment they left the guild, someone is following them. The elf says that judging by her perception of magic, there are 3 following them. The young man panics, wondering if someone from his old world is following him. The girl doesn't think it's someone from the guild or the guards and assumes it's bandits. She says they follow them quietly, not trying to speak. The elf offers to break away from them in a crowded place. The guy says that if he sees them even out of the corner of his eye, he will be able to understand something with the help of his assessment. He buys fried squid at a convenience store and uses a detailed assessment. They see their pursuers, the thieves. The elf says that everything is fine, there are no more suspicious people in the area. The guy offers to eat in the room today just in case and is glad that he bought squid. He wonders why he was targeted and assumes that someone saw him opening a rare chest. Remembering how he bandaged the wounds, he seemed to understand why. Annalise is shocked and asks that he cut the gang leader in half on the road. Yuji confusedly confirms that it was an accident. The hero recalls how he and Goltio came across bandits, and he joined the guards to fight them off. He thinks they killed everyone then, but did any of them survive and escape? She says that is, they hold a grudge and consider him to blame for the failure of their attack. The heroine explains that most of the criminals and scoundrels in this city are associated with the Shounen gang, which is engaged in robberies. She says it's not about personal revenge, but the fact that he damaged the reputation of their organization and now they have to take revenge. The girl assumes that through the guild or the exchange of information, they found out who he was. He's desperate that he helped people and now he's being persecuted. They say that the ruler is honest and strict, but crime is not easy to deal with here. The city attracts people who dream of getting rich underground, so it's easy for criminals to hide here. Yuji understands that even the guards cannot be trusted, because they could have been bribed. The hero blames himself for getting into trouble again without thinking about the consequences, and that he always spoils everything. She tells him that he did the right thing. The elf says that because he saved Goltio, she was able to meet him. She says there's no need to worry. She declares that no matter how many of these thieves come, she will send them all back. Annalise explains that thieves are dangerous only by numbers, since their profession is obtained automatically when committing a crime, so their skills are not too high and they act in groups. She says that if you get stronger, there's nothing to be afraid of, and the safest thing to do is just train your own strength. Besides, there's a bounty on their heads. The girl apologizes and says it's better to eat the squid, which are still warm. She says fried squid is a specialty of their town. He tries it and says it's really delicious. The hero says that if he gets scared every time someone is watching him, he won't be able to live a normal life in another world. Rubbing his eyes, he wakes up. The elf wishes him a good morning. She asks if he was awake all night. He replies that he got some sleep in the morning. The girl decides that everything is fine and they don't need to change the hotel. He is sure that Goltio will not betray them. They notice the crowd at the entrance to the dungeon and wonder why it's so noisy. Yuji exclaims in surprise that it looks like some kind of celebration. She explains that yesterday was the day the dungeon was rebuilt. Its aisles change once a month. The next day, treasure hunters gather. Annalise notices the jewelry dealer and offers to take a look at them. The young man agrees and decides to evaluate the goods. He is surprised to find something interesting. He hands Annalise the earrings, saying that they will suit her very well. The hero explains that these are magical earrings that enhance magic and suggests that she try them on. She sheepishly agrees. After putting on the earring, she blushes in embarrassment and asks how she looks. He says it suits her very well. She gratefully replies that she will take care of them. Yuji reassures himself that it's just a gift from the owner and nothing more. He starts to panic, which has created an awkward atmosphere. Annalise asks if she can choose something for her master in return. 20 minutes later, she chooses a necklace for him. He can't recognize the item because its level is too low. The young man decides to buy a necklace since it does not seem harmful. She thanks him and puts it on, even though she can't analyze it yet. He awkwardly asks Annalise if they are attracting too much attention. Two adventurers approach them with an offer to join their group. The guy thinks to himself that they're just making out. In response to the offer, Annalise asks if they want a fireball. He also thinks that Annalise is too beautiful and that her figure is a dream. She claims that her master is much nicer. At the entrance to the dungeon, he notes with relief that there were no thieves and says it's time to go. Once inside, he says that now is the time to check out his new class. He activates a class change and becomes a hero with a two-handed sword. Annalise is shocked by the hero class. She explains that such professions are extremely rare and powerful, like those of heroes from legends. He notes his high basic characteristics and useful initial skills, such as auto-healing. The young man explains that the skill command strengthens the whole party. Annalise calls it amazing. He decides to try out a new skill, cutting punch. The hero is surprised that this is a ranged attack. He notes that the impact has a delay, but it looks very cool. He says that the first level will be too crowded, so they will go straight to the second level. They arrive at the second level of the maze. He notes that it looks almost the same as the first one. Yuji is surprised to see a tree ahead and wonders if there are trees growing in the dungeon. New monsters appear in front of them, the ashen golem and the gray rat. He warns Annalise to be careful. He analyzes that the golem is slow, but combined with fast rats, combat can be difficult. Yuji is happy that the new class is very strong. It allows you to save potions and gives a bonus to weapons. His mithril two-handed is now very easy to hold. He suggests going straight to the second level boss. Analyst agrees. They enter the boss room of the second level. They are greeted by a level 7 Ash Golem boss and a level 6 Rat boss. The hero assumes that the boss has a large range of attack. He thinks that the Rat boss will aim at him if he gets close. He decides not to go head-on and uses a cutting blow on the Rat boss. The young man notes that the slow golem is an ideal target and strikes. A message about an easy victory appears. They conquered the second level in one night and got the loot from the boss. He decides to take a break for a while and then fight the boss again to level up. Noticing the crowd, he decides to stop running to the boss. Analyst is glad that they can go further thanks to the underground effect. She explains that the usual outing is very long. It usually takes hours to get to the second level boss and back, and you have to take a lot of things which slows you down. The girl adds that strong adventurers hire porters and live in the dungeon for several days. He exclaims in surprise. Yuji asks how the time is determined here. She replies with a grin that she has a built-in clock because it's just before sunset. He decides that's enough for today. The girl agrees that 2 levels in a day is a great result. When he goes outside, he is surprised that it is already evening. Analyst turns to him with concern. The hero sees suspicious people at the gate. He decides to bypass them and not go to the guild today. She agrees. Yuji clenches his fist in anger. He curses the fact that he will have to live again, looking over his shoulder. The young man is sure that he will deal with them with the hero class, but he still feels depressed. He thinks it's pointless to provoke someone's hatred. Analyst asks him to calm down. She says he has an analysis and she has a magical sense. If you avoid dangerous places, everything will be fine. She confidently declares that they are stronger. If they start messing with her, she'll pin them down. He agrees. It worries him that there are only 2 of them. He goes through his acquaintances, but the strong guards have left. That leaves only the newfound toy, but that's not an option. Since they've made good money, he suggests hiring another worker as a fighting force. She thinks it's easier to keep secrets with a worker. The hero does not want to do this, but understands that this is the only way out. He thinks that thanks to analysts they have the means, so it's quite possible to hire another one. The young man makes a decision. He says they'll stop by Mr. Goltio's shop tomorrow. The action shifts to the western district of Kurnafoy, a slum. A woman asks a man when he will bring that girl. The man replies that it will be soon. He says they've stepped up surveillance and that she's definitely visiting the Explorers Guild. The hooded figure steps on his hand. She threatens that if he doesn't hurry up, he will lose his other arm. The leader of the Shardna gang orders to quickly drag this toy or whatever it is to her. She promises she'll take good care of her. The hero greets Goltio-san. Goltio replies that he was waiting for them. Goltio asks if they are looking for a worker again and notices Analyst. The man anxiously asks where he got it. He hesitates, saying that something has happened. Goltio is shocked. It seems to him that he has seen her somewhere. He explains that it's Analyst and that a lot has happened. Goltio is surprised and asks if he knew everything from the beginning. The hero asks Goltio to keep everything a secret. He assures that information about clients is their reputation and they are obliged to keep secrets. He calms down, realizing that no information will leak from Goltio's store. Goltio notes that the guy has grown a lot in 2 weeks. He says that his intuition did not let him down and invites them to get down to business. Before they buy a new worker, she turns to Analyst, saying that she wants to tell her something. Yuji says that the last time they discussed professions, he couldn't tell. He reveals his secret to her. He has a profession called the Reborn Hero. The young man says that her guesses were correct. She is embarrassed to realize that she was saved by a beautiful young hero. She asks if the Reborn Hero means that he was reborn from another world. The hero confirms that he was reborn alone in Kurnafoy. She understands where his unique skills come from, but she doesn't know the obvious things. Analyst asks if he has broken up with his comrades. He replies that he refused them himself and did not want to be with them under any circumstances. Toy says he wants to hide his identity as a hero. He decided not to use this profession in order not to attract attention to himself. He apologizes for being such a cowardly hero. The girl objects that he is not a coward and says she is proud to be with him. The hero ends his story with Goltio, remarking that the hero buying workers is strange. He replies that the requirements are clear to him. He lists his conditions for the workers. Not a criminal ready to fight without a profession, with a budget of about 400,000 grills. Goltio asks them to wait while he selects the candidates. He adds that it is desirable that a worker can choose a profession from scratch. The man introduces the candidates, saying that according to their conditions, mostly representatives of non-humans are suitable. He is amazed by the variety of races, elves, dwarves, beastmen, and does not know who to choose. The hero notices a strong draconian, a sickly elf, and notices a child. The young man sees the goblin. He understands that in this world they are not monsters but an intelligent race. Goltio explains that the goblin was sold by his parents. He says that he couldn't find a job at the age of 20. The guy is thinking about his choice. Analyst trusts his choice. He hesitates, thinking that a draconian would attract attention, but there is another interesting candidate. He makes a decision and tells Goltio that he will take the goblin for 80,000 grills. Goltio is surprised by such an unexpected choice. He says that this goblin wants to become the king of hand-to-hand combat, which is quite strange. The hero asks to prepare a contract, saying that everything is fine. He says he's noticed something interesting. Goltio says he will arrange everything now. He suddenly wonders if an elf and a goblin can get along. He sees that Annalise is calm. She explains that her parents had no prejudice and that she herself is a half-elf. The hero signs the contract and she asks if he hasn't noticed. Annalise tells him that the goblin is a girl. She's in shock. He shouts that it's really a goblin girl and he didn't figure it out. He thinks that after that, Goltio finds his taste strange. Goltio thanks him for the purchase. He asks if it is possible to sell materials here. Goltio replies that they buy rare items more expensive than in the guild, which is very convenient. Goltio warns him about the villains in the city. He tells him to contact us if there are difficulties, because merchants will quickly find out the rumors. The hero thanks him, saying that everything is fine so far. He thinks that Goltio knows everything and he doesn't want to owe him any more. They introduce themselves to Rosarina. She enthusiastically replies that she will try her best. Toy says that you need to equip yourself first, and then go to the dungeon to raise the level. Rosarina is glad that she can finally fight. He laughs, and Annalise tells her that she is very enthusiastic. She complains that she wanted to fight with her fists. He asks her to use the mithril sword and says he will take a spare one. Toy asks Annalise to hold one monster with magic. She agrees and uses the mana arm. He orders Rosarina to finish off the rat and she obeys. She exclaims joyfully that her level has risen. He praises her and says that they will swing fast today. Annalise and Rosarina respond in agreement. The hero, out of breath, praises Rosarina and she replies that she is still full of strength. He wonders to himself at her energy. He notices the queue for the boss and offers to rest. Rosarina asks what they will do next. Rosarina is delighted with the fried squid. Annalise warns her not to tell outsiders about their master's unique skills. Rosarina, on the other hand, enjoys the opportunity to fight and eat delicious food. He is surprised by Rosarina's movements, and Annalise says that she wields a sword better than him. The girl says that she always dreamed of fighting. Therefore, even after becoming a worker, she constantly practiced in her mind. She shares her dream of becoming the king of combat. Because of the constant training, she was sold because she didn't work at all. He encourages Rosarina, promising that her level will rise soon. Their conversation is interrupted by a beastman, who laughs at the fact that they brought a goblin with them. The beastman insults Rosarina, saying that the goblin cannot handle the boss. Annalise coldly suggests checking out who is actually playing children's games. The beastman continues to threaten them. The beastman asks if they are running into trouble and says that they were the first to insult his friend. The guy grabs his ear. They are stopped by a huge beastman bear. He apologizes for his friend who, according to him, went too far. The beastman bear explains that his friend's tribe has a long-standing feud with the goblins. He notes that he is a novice and does not understand who he is messing with. The man is considering a batch of beastmen. Rosarina apologizes, believing that everything happened because of her race. He comforts Rosarina, saying that it's not her fault. He says that racists like that wolf beast should just be silenced by force. The young man admires Rosarina's amazing fighting talent. He thinks she can already fight well even without their support. Rosarina asks if she can fight with her bare hands. He agrees. The goblin fights with his bare hands. She screams that it's an incredible feeling of life. He says that the profession of a fighter would suit her. Annalise notices that she has reached level 10, which means that something is about to happen. The hero explains that his skill showed that when goblins reach level 10, they evolve and their performance increases dramatically. He adds that at this moment there is also an automatic class change to the most appropriate one, which depends on luck and talent. The hero shouts that this is a level up. A bright light envelops Rosarina, causing her to scream. The light dissipates and Rosarina appears in a new guise. She happily shouts that she has evolved. She is happy that she has become a full-fledged goblin fighter. She proudly shows off her new horns and the battle master profession. Annalise and he are completely shocked by her transformation. Rosarina confirms that it is her and notices that she has grown taller. The girl praises Rosarina, saying that she has become very beautiful. He silently notes her model figure and tall stature. Rosarina admires her new movements. He also realizes in a panic that he has become the weakest in the group because it has become incredibly strong. He explains that Rosarina has evolved into a goblin fighter. At the same time, she received a powerful, unique profession of hand-to-hand combat master of battle. The hero explains that due to the limitations of her profession, she cannot carry weapons, but her bare-handed attack is incredibly high, and the fighting spirit skill temporarily increases her stats. Toy notes that due to her agility, she avoids attacks. She is ideally suited for the role of a dodger tank that attracts enemies and dodges. He thinks he's incredibly lucky to have Annalise and Rosarina. It seems to him that he has a hidden skill of luck, and that the goddess herself protects him. The young man notices that half a month has passed since his rebirth. It's getting colder and winter is coming soon. Rosarina says she's fine. She worries that they will have to wash with cold water. He suggests asking them to heat the water and rent a separate room for the girls. Annalise is categorically against it, saying that she will not be able to protect him if she is in another room. Rosarina suggests sleeping on the floor. He points out that there is only one bed in the room. The young man recalls that when he suggested sleeping on the floor, they both protested, calling it unacceptable. He says they progressed through the 3rd level without any problems. A spider web flies into it. Annalise anxiously asks if he is okay. He thanks Annalise. He understands that monsters of this level are spiders and he doesn't like it. The young man notes that Rosarina does not pay attention to the web, but he himself is uncomfortable from attacks from all sides. He is outraged by the way the spider releases the threads, and is surprised that a cotton thread falls out of it. Annalise explains that trading cotton thread from the dungeon is common, and thanks to the city's policy, the price remains stable. The hero understands that the industry is built into the dungeon to regulate the monster population, and considers it a smart decision. Back at the hotel, he asks Annalise to help him test one ability and hands her a rope. With a smile, he asks her to tie him with this rope as tightly as possible. She screams in a panic that it's not because of some hobby, honestly. He explains that he just wanted to see if he could escape if he was captured by a bandit, or pick up the item box. The young man tries to put the cobwebbed sword in the drawer. The experiment is successful, and he is happy that it turned out. He understands that if the web does not fly too fast, it can be intercepted on the fly, and it will not reach the target. Toy understands that this is a real spider web, not cotton, and you can run it yourself. Annalise explains that an ordinary object box cannot accommodate moving or shapeless objects. She says that his box is a unique skill that preserves temperature and freshness, but is not capable of storing living creatures. An idea comes to his mind. He decides to prepare and test her in a boss fight. When he sees the huge spider boss, he decides to try to deal with it alone and asks Rosarina to step back. He confidently declares that no matter what kind of animal, spiders have one weakness and activates his object box. Rosarina is shocked why he uses magic. He explains that this is Annalise's magic, which he just extracted from the box. He understands that this is the purest cheat, because you can stock up on attacking spells in advance and use them without risk. The young man comes to the conclusion that in the end, the alternative world is always about the item box, even though they give little experience for the boss. He is happy that the conditions for the new profession have been fulfilled, and it has been unblocked. Rosarina screams that it's not fair and she also wants to fight one-on-one. He promises her that it will be the same next time. Not only did they pass the 3rd level, but they also easily overcame the 4th, gradually increasing their levels. He thinks that leveling up is a thrill, and with Rosarina, he has the freedom to keep the seeker profession for the sake of bonuses. Formic acid gets on it. Annalise explains that she doesn't do any damage but spoils the equipment. He complains that he got dirty, but he replenished his supplies. He is advised to wait until the hotel where they will warm the water. He sighs, wondering what the heroes are doing in the castle right now, but decides he doesn't care. In the capital of the kingdom, 1,000 kilometers away, someone sneezes. A girl is enjoying a bath in the royal palace when suddenly someone enters. Elmeda says she sometimes uses the pool late at night. Sika replies that she just has a lot of things to do. Sika says she won't interfere. Elmeda calms her down, saying that you shouldn't worry so much. Elmeda offers to have a little chat if Sika doesn't mind and calls her by name. Sika thinks that the princess remembers everyone except the hero. She is happy to agree to talk if she is suitable as an interlocutor. The girl admires how magic is intertwined with alchemy. Elmeda finds the world based on science interesting and says it's hard for her to imagine a world without magic. Elmeda asks if Sika was looking for someone on the day of the draft. She is embarrassed and replies that she probably just imagined it. Sika thinks to herself that Fujimi-kun wanted to stay away from Akabana, then it wouldn't be good to tell the princess about it. Elmeda thanks Sika, saying that her potions are much appreciated among the soldiers, and the supply of the palace has improved. The girl asks Sika not to overexert herself, even though they called her without permission. Sika replies that she likes to experiment. She says that the princess' words helped her feel calmer. The girl asks if the princess is having trouble with the heroes. Elmeda admits with a sigh that this is a very big problem. Elmeda complains about the quarrels of the heroes, mistreatment of servants, robberies, thoughtless waste of supplies, and daily complaints from investors. She says the biggest problem is the lack of results. The heroes can't go beyond the third level and don't even try to work together. Elmeda apologizes for complaining. Sika replies with a smile that everything is fine. The girl says that the hero of the Azure Seas will arrive soon. She hopes for his team to join later. Sika strongly states that the production professions will provide the heroes with everything they need, and that she is already working on many useful items. The heroine offers the princess an aromatic oil, which she made together with the pharmacist and added to the bath. Elmeda understands where the pleasant scent comes from. She thanks Sika, saying that the conversation helped her. Sika apologizes, saying that the name Ikashima-san is a bit awkward, and asks to be addressed more simply. Elmeda agrees with a smile, calling her Sika. She screams in embarrassment. Sika, embarrassed, goes under the water and calls for help, saying that she has completely talked the princess. At this time, the one on the roof sneezes. Rosarina notices people downstairs, saying that there are a lot of them there. The bandits are looking for him, swearing that he has disappeared again. Having run into bandits loitering near the hotel, he thinks that he has lost his guard a little. The hero reflects that although it is not a problem to defeat them, others will come after them, so it is better to avoid them. He remembers how Rosarina covered for him. Annalise apologizes for not monitoring the situation. He calms her down, saying that it's not her fault because there are a lot of bandits in the city now. Rosarina asks what happened. He worriedly thinks that if this goes on, the hotel might get into trouble because of him. The girl suggests changing the hotel more often because the paid month is coming to an end and everything is fine with the money. Annalise sadly agrees that this is reasonable, although it is a pity because the food here is delicious. He smiles awkwardly. He's wondering what to do. Everything is fine with the dungeon, but the bandits won't leave it alone. Rosarina enthusiastically suggests an ingenious solution. Smash all the bandits into splinters, and then her master will not have to hide. In a panic, he rejects her idea, saying that the three of them against the whole gang is too much, and that the master of the city would have dealt with them long ago. The hero thinks that the main problem hindering the cleanup is that the bandits have informants among the officials. Toy looks at his profession card. He thinks that if he uses it, he might be able to come up with something. The hero says that he has a great idea about bandits. He's going to use a skill from his new profession. He decides to try out the profession in the dungeon first tomorrow. Before that, he wants to upgrade his level and skill a little more. Annalise suggests getting out early. He wakes up and says he needs to buy some gear. The girl asks about his new profession. He replies that its name is a bit gloomy and invites them to see for themselves. He activates the class change and appears in a new image. Profession Assassin. The girls are shocked by the Assassin class. He explains that by defeating the boss with an item, he accidentally fulfilled a special condition. He wonders how strong the assassin is. Among the initial skills are stealth and divine speed. Annalise says she has only heard of such professions by hearsay. She assumes that this is a criminal profession that automatically switches from thief. This is something from the shadow world, about which there is no data. Rosarina decides that he is going to cut out all the bandits. In a panic, he denies this, assuring that he did not intend to do this. He says that he is not interested in the combat power of the profession, but in a skill called stealth. He asks them to turn around for a minute. They turn around and see that he has disappeared and are calling for him in a panic. He appears behind them, saying that he is here. Toy explains that the stealth skill allows you to completely suppress your presence and become invisible, but it won't work if you're already being watched. Annalise understands that it is possible to move around in this state, so it is ideal for secret penetration. They ask suspiciously if he is going to use this skill in a sauna, calling it indecent. He screams in horror that this is a crime and he would not like to get another profession. Annalise says she was joking. Annalise guesses that he is going to infiltrate the bandits' lair and eliminate their leader. He replies that he doesn't want to be so reckless. The hero explains that even if it leads to revenge, it won't solve anything. It seems wrong to him to decide for everyone. He says he's actually going to break into the administration building. With the detailed analysis skill, he will be able to determine who is associated with the bandits. If you provide solid evidence, the landowner will take action himself. Toy believes that if the spies are exposed, the bandits will lose influence. The young man decides to devote a whole day to leveling up the assassin. He notes that this profession is just damn strong. The hero says that the skill hitting a vulnerable spot is dangerous. It provides guaranteed triple critical damage from the first stealth attack. He notes that there are no restrictions on weapons. You can even use a two-handed weapon. The basic stats are already high, and the Divine Speed skill enhances agility. After the attack, the stealth effect disappears, so it's difficult to fight the group, but it's not a problem with Rosarina and the others. Toy thinks that this is the best profession for a single person. He understands that this is a pre-class of hired killer. The reputation will be the worst, so it must be kept secret. The young man upgraded the assassin to level 10. He says it's all right now. The next day, he snuck into the administration. He thinks he didn't expect to be in a stealth game in another world. He thinks that the main thing is not to reveal his face. If anything, he would always be able to escape with the help of Divine Speed. She is shocked that officials are not only working with bandits, but also taking bribes and embezzlement, and that you can do anything with personal cards. At 10th level, he gained the skills of passing through walls and erasing footprints. He thinks that this profession is outlawed altogether. The hero found the documents on the embezzled treasury. He says that this is not a theft, but a transfer to the authorities. If they check all the cards, they will identify all the spies. He understands that if he shows this to the head of the administration, he can hush it up. So, you need to carry everything directly into the hands of the ruler of these lands. The young man arrives at Kernifi Castle. He notes that the military here are real professionals, unlike officials. He thinks that bandits only buy ordinary guards. Excellent discipline, probably because the commanders are smart. He decides that he needs to find the Lord as soon as possible. Toy sees that he is not in the Lord's office. He assumes that the man has probably already gone to his chambers. He sees the Lord in the room. He tells the maid that he will not order anything and asks to bring only wine. The maid tells the Lord that he can rest. An inscription appears. The ruler of Kernifi is Duke Arkin Gardland. The hero thinks that this is the Lord. He notes that he exudes mature charisma. He sees that the Lord's profession is Duke. He understands that this is not just a title but a real Duke. Toy thinks that this is the most elite of the aristocratic professions and that this person is stronger than him. He's terrified that the numbers are off the charts. He's panicking, wondering if he's gotten into too much trouble. He decides to quickly leave the evidence and leave. The hero understands that even though the stealth skill is still active, he has been noticed. In fear, she thinks what kind of person he is. He almost threw off his disguise in terror. He recalls that, according to the analysis, the Duke is impeccable. But he doubts whether he can be trusted because he may want to hush up scandals in the family. The Duke notices a folder of documents on the sofa. He says it wasn't here a minute ago. The man looks through the documents. There is an accounting department with facts of embezzlement and a list of those who are associated with bandits. He finds it funny. He orders Zijin and Balkan to be called immediately. The Duke turns into the void, knowing that he is still there. He asks who he is, noting his agility and bravery. The bandit wonders who it could be. A disgruntled official who escaped from a gang, or just an overly conscientious seeker. He understands that he brought everything personally to him so that he would take immediate action. The hero says that he himself is tired of the stench of rot in the administration. He decides that they'll figure it out tomorrow. He says he forgives the crime of breaking into the castle. The man says he won't spare you next time. He tells him to be sure to come here again tomorrow night. When he gets out of the castle, he exhales with relief. He thinks how terrible it was and that he needs to meet the others as soon as possible. Annalise and Rosarina call out to him. He replies with a smile that it looks like the Duke is going to act right away. Shocked, Annalise asks if he has spoken to the Lord personally. Toy says that although the stealth was active, he felt creepy. It seemed as if he had seen through everything. Annalise is glad that he is safe and sound. Rosarina reports that they didn't waste any time. While he was infiltrating the castle, they found out the approximate location of the bandits' lair. She shows 3 main points in the slums on the map. She says she felt movement underground and assumes that the leader is hiding there. He understands that there have been raids, and bandits have made escape routes, which is very inconvenient. The hero says that he is used to penetrations and will look around again. Annalise, surprised, asks if he's going to go right now. He explains that the purge will begin in the morning, so now the bandits don't suspect anything. The girls say they will go with him. She says it's more convenient to get there alone. Annalise doesn't want him to be in danger alone. Rosarina wants to punch a couple of bandits. He decides that they will stay nearby in case of anything. If he doesn't come back in an hour, then they'll go rescue him. She's worried that he might get killed in that hour. He comforts her, saying that he can slip away at any moment. The girl reluctantly agrees, but warns that if he doesn't come back in an hour, she bursts in. He says he'll be back. He thinks that this is most likely the main base of the Shounen gang. It would be ideal to know where the ringleader is or to find treasure caches. The young man decides that if he gets something worthwhile, he will give it to the Duke, and then immediately get out of here. He notes that it's just a bunch of scumbags. Almost no one has any thieving skills. Sometimes there are dangerous professions. The hero finds the leader, a woman named Shardana. Her title is Blood Queen, level 18. She is shocked that she named the gang after herself. He wonders what kind of profession the Blood Queen is. She furiously asks when this brat will be brought to her. They say he was hanging around the eastern quarter. The girl angrily shouts at her subordinates, ordering them to simply rob all the hotels if they can't find him. The young man thinks that they are going to involve innocent people in this. He decides to leave quickly, switching to treasure hunting. The toy ends up in a secret vault. He is amazed by the amount of jewelry, magical artifacts, and black gold. He swallows, fighting the temptation, and is afraid that if he gives in and takes something, he will be listed as a hero thief. Rosarina can't stand it anymore and decides to check the escape route. He sees a staircase leading to a dungeon. He stares in horror through the bars. He recalls that, as far as he remembers, trading is prohibited in this city. The girls notice that he lingers. Rosarina asks if it's time for them to go. At that moment, he appears behind them. They ask if he's okay. He says that everything is fine and it's time for them to go home, but he can barely contain his rage. He turns to Annalise and Rosarina. The young man says that stop running and hiding, even if the Lord doesn't do anything. He declares that he will destroy this gang with his own hands. Soldiers and bandits clash in battle. Someone wonders what's going on. The bandit shouts that it's not that easy to break in here. Balkan rushes in. The bandits are terrified that they can't even handle him with the whole crowd. In a rage, Shardana screams for her people to delay him at least a little. The girl understands that this is all his doing. She looks furiously at him standing on the roof. 8 hours ago, they will find out that the administration is closed and they will not be able to apply. Duke Gardland, as promised, conducted a reconciliation. 8 people were arrested for embezzlement and association with bandits. In his office, the Duke looks through the documents. He says that the information turned out to be correct. Seijin, the chief of staff, apologizes. He didn't expect that there would be so many criminals among his subordinates. The Duke tells Seijin not to take the blame. He admits that he has turned a blind eye to powerful people for too long. The man praises Balkan for his good work. Balkan, the head of the knightly order, silently accepts the praise. Balkan says with contempt that it is a disgrace to descend to the level of bandits while in public service. The Duke orders Balkan to immediately deal with the gang, and Seijin to ensure that information is completely blocked so that rumors do not spread beyond the castle. The Duke asks what happened. Balkan says he felt like they were being watched. Touya is horrified that Balkan sensed him from such a distance. He thinks that Balkan is a monster, not a man. Profession Guardian Knight, level above 40, he's even scarier than the Duke. Annalise warns him that Balkan is the strongest in this country. They say he cut through the fortress wall with a sword. If they meet him, run without looking back. In the Duke's chambers, he recognizes him. He says that yesterday's guest came again, although he asked to come at night. Balkan is furious that he entered the castle twice. He says that whoever he is, he has to defuse it. The man is in the range of the attack. He panics and thinks he's finished. The Duke stops Balkan. He says that this man is his guest, and if he wanted to harm, he would have already done it. The man asks if he came to see for himself. He thinks that he was underestimated since he submitted evidence and punished the perpetrators. The Duke replies that he has already shown his goodwill. He asks if he brought a present today. He throws the folder with the documents on the floor. It contains information about the location of the bandits' base, a list of stolen items, and where the leader is located. Seijin is horrified by what he has read. Illegal people. The Duke understands that this is the reason for the missing people. The man says that if the information is reliable, it is urgently necessary to storm. Balkan suggests that this may be a trap, because such data could only be provided by someone from the inside. Seijin is afraid that bandits might hit the castle. The Duke agrees that it is dangerous to act until the information is confirmed and asks for Balkan's opinion. Balkan does not feel threatened by this man. The Duke asks if one squad is enough against 300 people. He decides to send only a small detachment so that the castle remains protected. Balkan confidently tells them not to worry, he'll deal with them himself. This old man wants to single-handedly deal with everyone, driving the bandits from the flanks into the center. He is shocked by their plan. He wonders what about the capture of the workers and the escape of the leader. He realizes that they are discussing a plan, knowing that he can hear them. The young man curses the Duke's expression. They're hinting that he should figure out the details himself. Toy realizes that he was specifically given to hear the plan. He's angry that he's been found out. The Duke's expression seems to say, a kind-hearted seeker. Toy decides that he was going to climb there himself anyway. If the knights help, that's good luck. He turns to Annalise and Rosarina. He says they're doing everything according to plan. The bandits are screaming in panic that they are being attacked by enemies, and these are the knights. At the base, bandits rush into battle, shouting that they are under attack. She is informed that the knights are advancing from both sides. She's furious, screaming what's going on and why her informant is silent. The informant makes excuses that the administration was closed. She yells at him in anger for not telling her right away. Balkan appears and the bandits recognize him in horror. The mighty sword of the Balkans appeared. One of the bandits urges the others not to retreat, shouting that killing Balkan will bring them glory. He watches the battle, noting that the resistance is stronger in the south. The knight gives the order to retreat, seeing the inhuman strength of the enemy. The huge bandit easily breaks through the knight's defense. Boosting her physical abilities for 10 seconds, she activates the skill Morale Boost. She breaks through the wall, thinking that 10 seconds is enough for her. While the other is wondering who did this and where he disappeared to, the knight shouts that the gate is open and leads the soldiers forward. He praises Rosarina from the roof for holding back, even though she wanted to rush into battle, and says it's worthy of respect. The young man suggests that if the bandits are pinned down, they can retreat to the northern base, which will not be easy. He suggests blocking the passage to isolate the north. Annalise is happy to take up this case. Since fire magic cannot be used in the city, she uses the Mana Arm physical attack spell at maximum power. She uses a Mana Strike, completely destroying the passage. Balkan feels the earthquake and notes that the intruder seems to have very capable comrades. Sardine is informed that the underground passage to the northern base has been destroyed. She is furious that the south has also been broken through and they are not coping. The desperate woman thinks they've just been made a fool of. She suspects betrayal, but she's not going to give up. Shardina warned her subordinate that if unnecessary information was revealed, there would be problems at the bottom, and ordered to get rid of all the prisoners in the dungeon. The henchman asked the boss where she was going to go. Instead of answering, Shardina ordered them to follow her. The subordinate knocked the girl down on the table, and holding a knife in his hands, said that their head had allowed everything to be destroyed. The assassin got behind the bandit and slit his throat. The body collapsed. He told the prisoner that the knights would come to the rescue soon. He wanted to pat her on the head, but he didn't. Shardina and her men were walking through a secret passage. The men were carrying a heavy load and asked if the boss didn't want to help them with it. She ordered them to keep quiet and just follow her. They reached the stairs. Shardina said that if they climb it, they will be able to go outside. She turned around to hurry her subordinates, but she didn't see them. The head did not understand where they had disappeared to. She knew that her minions couldn't escape from her, thanks to her subjugation skill. The girl felt that there was someone else in the room. Shardina asked if her enemy really thought he could corner her. She activated her unmasking skill. The girl shouted that the assassin should not underestimate the great Shardina, and threw a weapon towards Toy. The hero managed to cover himself with his sword. He understood that he was almost killed, but thanks to the quick equipment, he was able to save himself from the poison weapon. Shardina quickly ran away from him. Toy raced after her. He wasn't going to let her go, so he decided to take a shortcut through the wall. The assassin and the head of the bardo went out onto the roof. The girl was breathing heavily. She asked if he was the guy whose name was Toy. Shardina said that he had destroyed everything she had been building for years, and now she would have to reassemble the gang. Toy suggested that she start with the mines. He said that she could work off all her sins there over the years, and added that the girl might not even make it there because of her age. Shardina screamed that she would cut off his legs and arms. The assassin and the head of the gang ran at each other and each made a blow in the air, but the girl did not hit her enemy. The sardine retreated and fell from the roof onto the barrels. The head of the knight's department approached her. The girl wanted to know who he was. He asked if she was the same sardine. Toy thought that Shardina was lonely despite the fact that she was surrounded by her subordinates. The hero had those he could really rely on and those he could trust. Rosarina and Annalise called their master, who smiled at them. The Balkan was informed that the bases had been cleared and the children had been rescued. The man told the knights not to lose their vigilance until the end of the evacuation. The head of the Knights' Order admitted that Milord was right. The man also found him an interesting guy. It was the 30th day after the hero's rebirth. Shardina and her gang were destroyed a week ago. Public safety in the city has improved significantly. The hero's team was no longer being chased, so they decided to leave the hotel. The guys rented a house and made it their new base. She was going to fulfill her dream of taking a dip in the bathtub. Rosalina and Annalise jumped into the tub with him. The guy was surprised that they just went into his bathroom. The girls asked him not to be so shy. The witch offered to rub his back. A few days ago, the heroes visited the Goltio trading house. They asked the dealer to help them find a house for rent with a bathroom. The man said he had a great option. So the guys found a suitable place to live. However, when Touya saw the house, he asked if it was not too huge. The house had 3 floors and it also had a garden. The hero said that this house was a real palace for him and his team. Goltio agreed with that. He said that previously this building belonged to a nobleman and was used by him as a country house. The man said that the house has a cellar and a wine cellar. The merchant said that after the recent problems with bandits, several nobles suddenly lost influence or moved to other cities, so such houses were sold to sellers at very favorable prices. The man said that the house needed a little cleaning, and for this, of course, they would need services. Touya wanted to give up such a huge mansion and servants, since the budget would not allow him, but Goltio did not think so. The man reminded that the team of heroes could reach the middle floors of the dungeon in just a month, and assured that building a reliable base with an eye to the future was a reasonable investment. Touya thought about it and mentally agreed with him. He thought that for someone who goes to the dungeon every day, the house is extremely important. Moreover, having a bath sounded tempting to him. The guy knew that the rent of the house and the salary of the services were about 80 grills per month. He had savings, so he could cover this amount quite well. The hero decided that he would hunt bosses more often while leveling up and earning money. Touya told Goltio that he was buying a house. The man thanked him for the purchase and shook his hand. He said that they would immediately begin preparations and asked to leave the selection of services to him. The hero thought that Goltio was an excellent merchant. Analyst told him that he had decided to take a very bold step. Rosalina was glad that they could train in the forest now. The next day, the boys met the servants. The head butler's name was Mondark. He was ready to do any job. His wife Merlis was standing next to him. The woman was engaged in cleaning and kitchen. Jewel was their son. He was in charge of the garden and renovation work. The hero greeted them and introduced himself. Goltio said that 3 servants would be enough for their house. He vouched for their work. Touya introduced Annalise and Rosaline. He asked to be treated with the same respect as himself. Moglark bowed and said they didn't have to use polite language with them. The hero found out that this family used to serve a noble family in another country. However, due to some circumstances, they recently moved here and agreed to a very reasonable payment. Touya did not expect that he would have his own butler. He told the servants that they could contact him at any time. Mondark asked what Mr. Touya and Mrs. Annalise's eating habits were. The girl blushed and said that they misunderstood their relationship. Annalise protested and tried to explain that she was serving her. The girl asked them not to even dare to say that. The hero said that he is not picky about food. For him, quantity was the main thing, not quality. Touya asked to call his comrades by their first names. Rosalina, holding a confused Annalise in her arms, said that she eats a lot. Mondark understood the request. The family of servants worked incredibly well in the house. Their attentiveness and culinary skills were top-notch. Touya noticed that there were a lot of empty rooms, so he offered Mondark and his family to live in the mansion. The 3 of them had martial professions, so they would be safe at home even when they were away. Touya's team's personal space was located on the 3rd floor. He gave the girls separate rooms, but in the end they moved in with him anyway. The hero thought that thanks to the magical artifact, even in another world they could not comfortably use water and a kitchen. The utilities had to be paid with magic stones, so the costs were quite high. Standing on the balcony, Touya sighed. Annalise came up to him. She asked the gentleman if something was wrong. The hero said that he just wasn't quite used to living in such a huge mansion yet, and said that the house he used to live in was much smaller. The girl asked if he would return to his world if there was a chance. Touya replied that he now belongs to this world. Touya added that he did not want to live in a world without Annalise. Rosarina abruptly hugged her comrades and shouted that she had come to them. Touya said that they had a great rest, and tomorrow they would go back to the dungeon, where they would reach the new 5th floor. Seijin went into the Duke's office. He said that in a recent case of gang ties, it was decided to punish 4 trading houses and 8 noble families. Arcane ordered the trading houses to be stripped of their rights and their property confiscated. Seijin asked what to do with the nobles. The Duke told them to destroy them all. He considered it such a lesson for the future. Arcane ordered their crime to be publicized, and the heads of families and their wives and children to be executed, as well as their adult sons. The man added that the women and children should be transferred to the temple. The Duke said that all relatives and related persons should be required to present personal cards. No exception should be made. Rakushin nodded. Arcane expected that there would be those who would object to such harshness, and he understood that this was inevitable. He said that safety is the main priority for the residents of this city. Seijin promised that everything will be done. The Duke asked if they had found that assistant. The man replied that the intelligence service was still investigating, but there was one suitable candidate among the seekers of the city. Zaijin said that he appeared a month ago and introduced himself to the travelers by the name of Touya, but the image of this man was extremely vague. The man said that according to the testimony of the bandits, the guy was looking for a certain girl. Zaijin will inform you that this guy was registered in the guild as a first-level traveler. He went through the dungeons in a group of an elderly elf and a goblin. The Duke said that the intruder didn't look like a first-level novice. Arcane remembered Balkan's report about a strong magician and fighter, which meant that it was Touya's comrades who had powerful professions. Zaijin said that the guy has a skill that allows him to hide his appearance and profession, so either he had a criminal profession like an assassin, or he had some special skill close to it. Arcane understood that they could not assess his real strength, and it would be foolish for them to be at odds with him. A man wouldn't want to wake up with a knife in his back someday. However, it was strange for him that the intruder killed the leader, but did not capture the gang, but allowed the knights to destroy it. The Duke was wondering what the guy was up to. Such behavior was insolent for the ruler of Kernifi. He ordered Zaijin to continue careful surveillance until they found out Touya's true intentions. The boys reached the 5th floor of the Baldark dungeon. The hero noticed that the monsters of this level were cows, and the dungeon itself was spacious. Analysts explained that the cows in the maze attack in a straight line, so it's not difficult to deal with them, and the meat that falls out was delicious. The skin and horns were valued as a material. The girl said that the 5th floor was popular with mid-level seekers. The bull ran at Rosalina. He wanted to hit her with his horns, but she stopped the animal by catching them. The goblin grabbed the horns and flipped the bull onto its back. Touya was surprised that Rosalina was stronger than a cow. The girl said that the most important thing is to choose the moment. A piece of premium beef fell out of the animal. Analysts attacked the cow with fire, saying that there was plenty of room in the dungeon to use magic. The girl noticed that the smell of fried meat quickly causes an appetite. The witch warned the gentleman that a bull was running at him from behind. Touya managed to jump up, avoiding the blow. The animal ran past and hit a rock. The horn fell out due to the impact. The cow laid a rock, behind which the heroes found a secret chest. Touya expected that if he was lucky enough to get the animal to the right place, he could get a reward. He asked analysts to check the chest, and said that if it was a trap, they would be able to deal with it with the assassin's skill. The girl said that there was no lock on the box, besides it didn't look like a trap. The witch had a strange feeling. She told them to move away and she would open the chest with Manaruka. The boys hid behind a rock while a huge magical hand opened the box. Analysts came closer when nothing came out of the chest. It was empty. Touya wanted to stop her, but the black tentacles came out and grabbed the girl. The guy cut off the tentacles and freed the witch from them. Rosalina ran away and closed the trunk with her foot. It was hard, which made the goblin's leg hurt. Touya wanted to cut the chest in half, but noticed that Mithril couldn't harm him. The monster had tremendous physical protection and vitality. The hero and the goblin took turns hitting the enemy. They noticed that the chest was calm while being attacked. Analyst said she would deal with the opponent herself. She asked her comrades to move away and warned that she was shooting a fire arrow. The girl hit the monster right. The chest began to burn. The heroes noticed that he was weak to magic and mouth attacks. He praised the witch. The girl admitted that it was the first time she had encountered such a monster. After they defeated the chest, Rosalina noticed that something had fallen out of it. Analysts picked up the book and said that it was a grimoire, an item for changing professions. Touya didn't know that items like the magic book existed to change professions. He decided to look at the detailed evaluation of the item and found out that it was being sold for a very high price. The guy said they could sell it and get a fortune. The witch noticed that in regions where there is no dungeon, it will cost even more. Magic books were one of the items that all the dungeon seekers were after. Such things could make a fortune. Touya remembered how Annalise had told him that she had once been a swordsman. He asked if the girl had become a magician because of the magic book. Dunya said that she accidentally found such a book at the beginning of her journey. Annalise said that in their group it was decided that whoever finds the book first will use it. In the beginning, she was a little hesitant about selling it or not, but eventually decided to change her profession from swordsman to magician. The girl believed that the magical profession was worth it. There were many professions that could be used in the dungeon. As a soldier or as a craftsman, she was appreciated everywhere. He asked if magic could be learned but not memorized. Annalise explained that magic is a skill and only magical professions could use it. And to get the right professions, you had to go through a very difficult path. She had heard that someone who had the ability had to study in specialized institutions for at least 10 years. The girl added that only nobles or rich people could become a magician, so she, as an ordinary person, was able to find a chance in the dungeon. Touya realized that now he had a chance to become a magician. He was determined to become a magician. The guy understood that only he had to change his profession himself. Since Annalise already had this profession, Rosalina also had unique abilities. The hero believed that if their team had 2 magicians and 1 melee fighter, then their group would be balanced and perfect. Toy decided that he would not rush to change his profession yet, because he already had Annalise in the role of a sorceress. While the guy is thinking about the magic book, Rosalina defeated the 5th-level boss, the Labyrinth Bull. The heroes came out of the dungeon and sold the materials from the 5th level at a good price. Annalise said that this is because it takes 4 to 5 days to explore the 5th Varley. Toy was glad that he could relax in the bathroom every day. He was pleased that they had rented the house after all. The hero told his comrades that now it would be better for them to go further to the 6th level. He asked Annalise how many floors she had gone through. The girl said that she had been to the 5th level in the Baldart dungeon, and after changing her profession she moved to the capital. Annalise stopped abruptly. Toy asked what happened. The girl said that everything was fine. She said that on the 6th floor, monsters were starting to have resistance to normal attacks, and flying and special monsters were also appearing. This meant it increased the difficulty. Annalise explained that because of such monsters, fighters like swordsmen or spearmen either change their profession or learn new high-level skills. Because at the 5th level they just get stuck. Toy began to realize that only more experienced people could pass the 6th level. He hoped they could handle it. Annalise supported him, saying that they would succeed. The hero spent the night lying between the sleeping girls and thinking. He thought that Annalise had received a curse after she came to the capital. Although he was curious about what had happened to her, he wasn't going to force her to tell him. Toy himself was never going to approach the capital, where his enemies were located. He would like to erase their faces from his memory. However, on the other hand, the guy couldn't say that he didn't need anyone. He remembered Sayaka and then assumed that he would never see his classmates again. The guys arrived at the 6th floor of the Baldark dungeon. Toy noticed that the dungeon was spacious and had a high ceiling. He was wondering what they would meet this time. In the distance, he saw something flying at them. It was a stone monster, a gargoyle of the 18th level. Rosalina kicked at the monster's wing. Upon landing, she said that the monster was as solid as a rock. Toy understood that it would be difficult for them to fight since their enemy was flying and had resistance to physical attacks. His profession of assassin was useless. Toy changed his appearance to a hero with a 2-handed sword. He asked Rosaline to try using fighting spirit. The guy attacked the gargoyle with a bastard slash and Rosalina with a fiery fighting fist. The stone monsters were collapsing. Toy noticed that some of the special attacks were successful. Annalise said that magic also worked well on monsters. The hero tried to cheer up the team, but they were immediately surrounded by a pack of gargoyles. Rosalina screamed that there were too many of them. Toy noticed that due to the reset from skill cooldown and mana consumption, it was difficult for the 3 of them to fight. The hero suggested that the team retreat to the entrance to recover. When they moved away from the battlefield, Toy sighed heavily. He admitted that it is difficult to fight with a lot of enemies. Although the guy thought that they could handle the enemies with Annalise's magic, he decided to use the magic book anyway. The witch said it was a good idea. The girl added that she would be glad if she became a magician like her. She asked if he liked the idea himself. The guy agreed. Toy opened the book from which the magic symbols were coming out. He had the feeling that they were in his head. The guy saw the conditions for obtaining and still decided to try to change his profession. As a result, the hero received a master's degree. Annalise was surprised. Toy assumed that the magister was something other than a magician. Annalise didn't know. She had heard that sometimes the profession of a sorcerer falls out, but this was the first time she found out about the master. The young man decided to check the information. He found out that there was a low probability of getting the magister through the magic book. He was wondering if he was lucky again. Annalise confirmed it. Now Toy wanted to find out if the new profession would be useful in fighting gargoyles. The guy realized that magister is a profession for enhancing magic. He upgraded Rosaline's fire magic to a fire attribute. Toy could give an ally bonuses to abilities or attributes, which meant that he was actually a buffer. The hero could also use the boost buff. After that, Rosalina could run fast. Toy could apply several different types of power-ups. Rosalina destroyed several gargoyles with one fiery kick. The hero noticed that now the girl could handle it perfectly on her own. Although he expected another magical profession, the magister was a good alternative. Thus, he could be different from Annalise. The guy noticed that his own combat capability was almost zero. Everything now depended on his allies. He thought it would be a little difficult for the 3 of them in the dungeon. In the system, the hero found a life buff and decided to try it. He took the stone and put it on the ground. A small golem immediately grew out of it. Toy reinforced Iwacha and ordered the golem to attack, but with such a small level he just fell apart. He suggested using the life buff as a distraction. Rosalina said they should practice at their leisure. With new boosts, the team went to the dungeon and fought monsters. At the end of the fight, Toy said that their level had been upgraded. He sighed and said they were done for the day. From the 5th level, they received good materials. The team decided to use them at home. Toy also received a rare item, the stone turning point. Although the tip wasn't the sharpest, it was highly likely to turn an enemy into stone upon impact. The hero imagined how he would use this blade with an assassin. Annalise was thrilled that this point could turn into stone. The guys came out of the dungeon and went to exchange loot for money. The girl was removed to see F-ranked magic stones. She remembered how the same team had brought materials from the 4th level last time. The girl asked if they had already reached the 6th floor. Toy awkwardly replied that they had accidentally gone to the 6th floor thanks to an experienced friend. The employee advised them to be careful. She warned that they, the 3 beauties, were well known in the city. He was pleased with the news, and after he saw how the guys started flirting with his girls and quickly pulled them out of there. The hero said that even though they tried to avoid contact with people in the dungeon, however, rumors still spread through the city. Annalise assumed that this was because they had been submitting materials too often lately. Toy said that they had extra money today so they could go somewhere and have a drink. He had already warned the servants that they would eat somewhere outside the house. The girls agreed. The guys came to the Sinold Tavern and ordered stewed chicken. They bumped mugs and thanked each other for the day. A man approached them and asked them to give him a moment of attention. Toy did not understand when this man managed to approach them and did not know who he was. The man introduced himself as Duke Haldrant's servant. He said that they are looking for talented seekers and turned to those who have shown themselves. The hero wondered if they wanted to recruit him as a soldier. He did not understand how these people knew his name and then assumed that they had read it from the records in the guild. The guy knew that when the level rises, I start calling for the army. The servant asked if he didn't want to come into the government to talk. It was strange for Toy that they turned to him, even though according to the records Rosalina and Annalise were above the level. The hero apologized and suggested that they had made a mistake. He didn't think that someone like him, a traveler, could serve at court. Then the servant asked if he could give him girls to serve. This angered the guy and said that even if he was offered mountains of gold, he would not give them to anyone. The man apologized and said that the bill had already been paid. However, Toy did not accept this gesture and left the coins on the table. He told the girls that they would change the place of their dinner. The servant said they would meet at his house soon. The hero realized that the man was not a simple scout. His goal was just to stall for time. When the guys came out of the tavern, Balkan was waiting for them outside. He said he wouldn't let Toy escape. Balkan announced to him that His Grace Duke Garland was summoning him. The man said that the young man would go with him to the palace. The head of the Knight's Order warned that if he refused, his actions would be considered a rebellion, and then they would have to cut off the young man's head. Toy did not expect that Balkan would come for him. He didn't understand how the man could figure him out. The hero said that he did not understand at all what the commander was talking about. He asked why the Lord needed an ordinary traveler like him. Balkan warned that they did not need meaningless excuses, and said that the young man knew the reason better than anyone. Toy realized that he would not be able to pretend ignorance and wondered how he could get out of the situation. The hero remembered that the man's attack range was abnormally large. If he moves the wrong way, Balkan will instantly cut him. Toy could have escaped alone with the help of divine speed, but he wasn't going to abandon the girls. Rosarina stepped forward and stood in a fighting stance. She said that her friends wanted to eat as soon as possible and demanded to make way for them. The knight warned the captain that the goblin was the knight. Toy shouted that Rosarin could not fight Balkan. The man noticed the girl's indecision and asked why she was not coming at him. The goblin trembled. She couldn't launch an attack as she saw how Balkan could cut her in half with a counterattack anyway. Toy also understood that no matter how strong Rosarina was, she couldn't defeat an opponent almost 3 times her level. The young man wanted to put up with it, but Annalise distracted him. She quietly said that she would try to restrain Balkan with all her might, and they would use this world to break through. The girl told them not to stop and to leave the city. The elf said that if the owner was taken away now, he would probably be imprisoned or, in the worst case, executed. She warned that for the Lord, his existence is a threat equal to a band of robbers. Annalise said that the Duke wants to eliminate Toy before the master gets out of control. She supposed that was how the Lord reasoned. The magician came forward and told Rosarina to take care of the master. Toy knew that the girl would not hesitate to give her life for him, and Balkan would not show mercy if the Duke ordered it. The guy decided not to run away anymore and said with a smile that he would come to the Lord personally. The hero added that there was just a misunderstanding, so it's better for them to discuss everything directly. He asked if they needed him alone. Balkan confirmed it. Annalise wanted to stop him, but Toy assured her that everything would be fine and asked her to wait for him at home. Finally, he said that if he stayed late, the girls would have to talk to Gortio. Toy's file was checked before entering the mansion. The hero thought that in case of danger he would escape with the help of skills, but if he was declared a criminal, the girls could also be accused. The guy didn't understand what Duke Gardeland was thinking at all. Before entering the Lord's office, Toy confessed that he was poorly versed in etiquette. Balkan said his lordship didn't care. Arkan Gardeland was waiting for him in the office. He greeted him and introduced himself. The man complained that it was hard for him to believe that someone with such thin arms could defeat a sardine. The young man said that he did not understand why he had been summoned. The man came closer to the hero. His assistant warned the Duke to be careful around Toy. Arkan said that the guy commanded Gardeland well, as if with his own hands and feet, and added that even the royal house could not do that. Toy repeated that he had no idea what he was talking about. He was afraid. He felt like he was going to be stabbed. The Lord said he would get to the point. Gardeland announced that the young man was entitled to a reward. He explained that without his help, the bandit gang would not have been defeated. Toy provided them with evidence of corruption, information from the inside, and helped with the assault. The Duke said that if, after such preparation, an outsider was not given forgiveness, then the knights would not understand. The man added that the young man's wishes were not important and he should just accept the award. The hero imagined that they feel their merits, but at the same time they are rewarded. Floor said he had to tell Count Sajin the amount he wanted. Toy assumed that the Lord simply did not want to remain proper and noticed that he was a very punctual person. The young man thought it would be easier for them to just finish him off. The hero refused the money. He asked Gardeland to compensate the victims of the robbers and reward the knights who had given their strength to this cause. The Duke sighed and said that it had already been done a long time ago and recalled the treasure trove of the sardines. He asked if the young man knew about it. The man asked if the young man wouldn't take the money anyway. Toy said that as a seeker, he earns his own money in the dungeons. Balkan laughed and told the Lord to listen to how boldly the young man was talking to him. Gardeland decided to give him a different reward. The man announced that he was elevating the toy seeker to the rank of honorary baron. The hero couldn't believe that he could become a noble. Arkan asked the count to immediately prepare the papers and teach the impudent young man the basics of noble honor. Sajin said he would do everything, and Toy was advised to accept the fact that he refused the money. Rosarina and Annalise met the owner near the mansion. Toy, trembling, approached the girls. The elf asked if he was okay. The guy nodded. The goblin asked what happened to him. The magician noticed that he was pale and tired. Rosarina grabbed Toy, carrying him urgently to the bathroom to warm up. She threw it right into the water. After the water treatments, the young man woke up on Annalise's lap. He apologized to the words and the comrades. Toy said that his brain had overheated and assured him that everything was fine with him now. The magician said they were afraid he wouldn't come back to them. "Hero, I'm sorry for bothering you." The girl asked what had happened at the Duke's. The gentleman said that he had become a nobleman. Toy admitted that he had not yet fully understood himself. Rosarina congratulated him on his new title. The others couldn't say anything. In the Lord's office, Sajin told the young man that he should first figure out what an honorary baron is. He gave him a stack of papers, saying that the hero would master the basic theses at the moment and study the rest of the details at home. Zijin said that the guy has the rights and duties of a baron, but the title is not inherited and lasts for one lifetime, and warned that in case of a disaster of the ducal house, he is obliged to appear. The count explained that disasters could be war, disaster, or a major monster hunt, and added that Toy must attend the council twice a year. The young man asked if he could continue exploring the dungeons. Zijin replied that there was no problem with that, but he had to behave sensibly and not spoil the honor of the ducal house. Toy exhaled. It was important for him to keep going to the dungeons. The count asked if he understood that conflicts with other seekers and death were unacceptable. The guy promised that he would be careful. Sajin explained that the estate that the young man was currently renting would become housing, and said that they would buy it out and give it to the baron. Toy was surprised that the rental apartment would become his. The count opened the suitcase and said that the honorary baron's salary was 12 million grills per year, and he would also receive 3 million grills for the remaining 2 months. Sajin told the young man not to admire, and reminded him that these were lifting platforms for housing servants. The man said that he should have at least 1 knight and 5 soldiers. It was a mandatory minimum for honorable defense. The count added that the young man must find reliable people. Sajin said that Toy should choose a surname and a coat of arms. The hero told all the servants and girls. He muttered that he had too much on his plate. The guy asked Mondalka to help him master the rules and manners of the nobility. The man said he could rely on him. Touya understood that he urgently needed to find 1 knight and 5 soldiers. Mondalk and the rest of the servants were not suitable for this role, and Annalise and Rosarina could not be officially enrolled due to their status. Mondalk informed the gentleman that he had an acquaintance with knightly experience who was just in the city and asked if he could contact him. Touya agreed. The man also informed that he had called the tailor. While the measurements of the hero were being taken, Mondalk announced that the count requested to come to the palace as soon as the baron was ready in state. At this meeting, Seijin was going to approve the surname and coat of arms. Touya felt like Mondalk was helping him out a lot. The young man noticed that his hair had grown back and remembered that he had been in this world for almost 2 months. When the costume was ready, the gentleman asked Annalise if she liked it. The girl was delighted. Mondalk said that the owner looked elegant. After that, she went to the count and they registered the name and coat of arms. Now the young man has officially become the honorary baron of Futsikal. He joined the ranks of the nobility. Touya arrived at the duke's mansion and bowed to the lord. The hero borrowed the surname from his ancestors. The wisteria flower was depicted on his coat of arms. He had heard that few people took plants for the coat of arms. The dukes of Gardaland had dragons. Arkin told Touya that he had hopes for him. The young man didn't like being talked down to again. The hero wanted to take his leave, but Balkan stopped him and said that he would go with him. Touya had a bad feeling about this. After a while, she and the man were on the training field. The young man was lying on the ground exhausted when Balkan demanded that he get up. The soldiers passed by the field where Touya and Balkan were training. The hero fell to the ground after being hit by a man. The baron ordered him to stand up. Touya asked how long it would last. Balkan said they would train until he stopped her. The guy thought he was just mocking him. The man said that this month would be devoted to the intensive training of the knights, and from tomorrow he would join them. The hero protested. He said that he had not enlisted in the military and added that he still had a lot to do himself. Balkan said that the guy needed training now and the rest could wait, and added that people would not serve a coward who hides and acts stealthily. The head of the Knights' Order said that if a guy is sure that he does not need training, then the guy should hit him at least once to prove it. The hero sighed and swapped his weapon for a broadsword. Touya took a stance and switched his class to a two-handed sword hero. The guy wasn't going to train hard with the knights for a month, so he was determined. Touya asked if he shouldn't use skills during the fight. He used the support of a two-handed sword, body strengthening, and foresight. The man told the guy to fight seriously. The Baron felt that the atmosphere had changed. He was wondering how she would move her body with a two-handed sword. The hero decided to start with a direct onslaught. He attacked the Baron from different directions. The man had the feeling that another person was fighting with him and not that one. The knights were surprised at how the guy easily wielded such a big sword. They noticed that Touya was beginning to crowd the captain. Balkan noticed that he had decent technique and quick reflexes for a self-taught student but little experience. The man hit Touya's sword and it fell out of his hands. Then the hero decided to attack the Baron in the air by jumping up. He wanted to use divine speed and shadow palm strike together. The Baron grabbed the young man, threw him and hit the ground. He said that his aim was correct, but it was possible to easily parry his blow. Touya was amazed that Balkan was able to repel the attack from the dead zone without skills. The man said that the hero has good abilities, but he should not rely on giving good combat situations, as the guy can be hooked. The Baron said that flair and experience decide in battle and reminded that Touya would have to join the training. The hero agreed with this. The squad ran up to the Baron and asked if he was safe. They said he was great during the fight. Someone noticed that even among the knights there were few who could fight on equal terms with the captain. Touya felt awkward. When the hero came home and told him that he would train with the knights for a month, Annalise asked with displeasure why he returned in rags after every visit to the palace. Touya lay down on the bed and started crying. He hoped that he would be able to go back to the dungeons and called the commissioner's attitude towards him abuse. Annalise was next to him, stroking his head. On the other hand, the hero understood that dependence on skills could become dangerous for him. He decided to give it a try, as the experience of dueling with other people could be useful. The butler came up to him and apologized for bothering him, saying that he wanted to clarify the schedule. Touya remembered that they were meeting with a night stranger tomorrow and asked who he was. Mondarch told them that their guest tomorrow was the commander of his former master's squad. The knight's strength was proven, and his character was peculiar. It was exciting to think about the knight's interview. He decided to drink a potion to look fresh and bruise-free at the meeting. Annalise helped him with this. She was working on her wounds. The girl assured him that everything would be fine and reminded him that it was the Lord who chose the knight. Annalise thought that if she stayed herself, then everything would be fine. The next day, the hero greeted the guest in a suit. He immediately noticed that the knight was formidable in size. Gandharban greeted the gentleman. I also remembered that I had seen this bear beast somewhere before. The hero realized that the leader of the Beastman party was standing in front of him, who was picking on Rosaline at the boss door. Gandharban also remembered Touya in the dungeon and asked if he was the same Baron Fudiacle. The young man confirmed it. The hero knew that the Beastman's class was heavyweight knight of the 22nd level. He was a former squad leader, which indicated that he was a seasoned warrior. Gandharban apologized for his past rudeness in the dungeon and explained that he did not know that Touya was an honorary baron. The hero said that he had only recently become a noble. The guy asked what happened to the wolf Beastman. The bear said that he had severely wounded his right hand on the boss of the 5th floor, abandoned his career and left for the countryside. The guy stubbornly walked forward, not listening to his commander. Touya asked if Gandharban was not afraid for his reputation because of this story. The man replied that he was not going to hide the fact that he had not saved his ward when he joined the service. The hero liked that Gandharban was an honest and responsible person. Touya asked what he would do with the remaining batch if he joined the Baron's service. The bear said that they should consult about his people. The Gandharban detachment party was waiting for its commander on the street. The maximum floor in the dungeon that they reached was the 6th. Spearman Lin suggested that they would need to change their name if the captain left them. Swordsman Bars believed that they should support the commander in his happiness. The Fox Beastman Solidia hoped that Gandharban would tell the Baron about them. Lizardman Jajak advised her to get into a stance to be ready to meet the Baron and the captain. She said they could only trust the commander. All this time, I was watching them in the shadow of that one. He mentally praised the squad for their self-control and trust in Gandharban with all his soul. The guy saw that the young swordsman and spearman had a lot to grow. The hero entered the mansion and told the heavyweight knight to call his squad. As a result, 1 knight and 4 soldiers were accepted under the command of Baron Futsicle. When Lin saw Touya, she began to be touched and pat him on the head. Bars was surprised that the guy in the dungeon was a baron. Jajak was amazed that the hero received such a title at a young age. Celilia noticed a huge difference in height between Gandharban and Touya. The bear shouted at the squad not to be rude to the baron. He asked the young man who had so quickly approved them for the position if it was wise, because he hadn't seen their skills yet. Touya agreed with that. He understood that the habit of solving on the spot due to the full analysis may not always be a good one. The guy asked if everyone had their gear with them, as they would go to the boss right away. The hero moved the squad immediately to the dungeon doors. The beastmen weren't prepared for this, so they didn't understand what was going on. Gandharban immediately recognized the dungeon movement skill. Touya praised the man for being so well-versed in abilities. The bear told how he had once seen it used by a team on the front line. The Baron warned that the squad would have to sign a non-disclosure agreement, as he wanted to keep information about his skills a secret. There were 2 maze bulls standing in the boss way. Touya didn't know if they could defeat the beastmen at the same time. The squad stood up and was ready to attack. Gandharban ordered to act according to the usual pattern. The bear used aggro fixation when 2 bulls attacked him. When the animals were nearby, he activated the shield and the horns hit the barrier. Leopard and Lin got ready and attacked the bulls from 2 sides. The spearman used the triple spear skill and the swordsman used the storm sword. Solidia and Jajak joined them. The young man activated the slashing ability and the girl activated the jumping spear. The bodies of the animals began to burn. Touya was amazed at such a smooth and precise connection. He felt that this was his best move, taking on a ready-made team right away. Their great advantage was their teamwork from the first fight. Touya changed the class and told the Gandharban squad to evaluate their strength now too. Rosalina was fighting bulls and Annalise was fighting goblins. The Baron was fighting with huge insects. Gandharban noticed that all 3 of them were too strong. With such a force, they won't even need guards. Lin asked how Touya was able to change his appearance. Bars recognized them as the 3 from the rumors. Jajak thought about it. The heroes came out of the dungeon. Touya's team now had 1 knight and 4 soldiers. However, he wanted to recruit another soldier. He remembered that Rosarina was a willing debtor prisoner. When the master pays off the debt, he will be able to release her. Touya saw how strong she was and how good she was at dealing with bandits. He wanted to give Annalise freedom too. The hero decided to talk to Zijin about this. Touya understood that since he had become a noble, he had to do his best. Suddenly, the guy remembered that he had a hell of a training session with the instructor tomorrow. Gandharban said they would go with him. Meanwhile, in the castle, the princess displeased called Akaba. The guy was irritable. Ermerda did not understand how Akaba could leave a wounded comrade to die in a dungeon, and asked how he could even call himself a hero after that. The guy told the girl to shut up. He thought she was making a fuss over some low-grade assistant. Akaba said that the most important thing was that he, the hero, returned alive and asked if she had a problem with that. Sayaka asked if the one who died was Niba. The princess remembered that his profession was a porter, a specific class from another world. She was informed that the guy was severely exhausted by hard work and also regularly beaten by the three heroes. Akaba believed that Noba was to blame for his own death and said that if they had come back for him, they would all have died. The guy added that they would not go back to the dungeon. 8 hours ago, when the squad was in the dungeon, the heroes were falling down from exhaustion. They reached the boss's room and stopped to rest. Akaba shouted at Noba to heal him. The knight interrupted him, saying that it was his turn to be treated. The fire hero reminded them that if the guy hadn't fought, they would have won. When Akaba shouted to get up, one of the girls asked for some more rest. She said they didn't have any more potions or food, and it would take them half a day to get back. The hero said that she wasn't going to sleep outside for the third night. Akaba had to agree. He ordered the squad to return. Exhausted, Noba asked for more time to rest as he had run out of mana. Suddenly, the guy stumbled and the tiles under him began to collapse. Falling, the guy broke his leg, so he couldn't walk anymore. After hearing the detailed story, the princesses couldn't believe that the heroes had just left the porter in such a state. Urmeta's head started to hurt. She couldn't understand why it hadn't occurred to these people to drop the load and try to carry their comrade instead. The magician turned to the princess and said that Noba was a healer, so he could restore mana and later heal himself. The girl thought that the guy would come back as if nothing had happened. The alchemist explained that a fracture is a status effect, so to cure it, you need advanced recovery magic or at least healing in addition. Otherwise, there is no way. The girl said she didn't know about it and added that with their level, they wouldn't have been able to cure him. Her friend reminded her that she is also a healer. The hero noticed that even if the porter could walk, it would be difficult for him to return alone from the third floor, and assumed that the guy was still at the boss room. The girl said that because some of their group had attacked other seekers, now no one would want to help them, and added that if they were unlucky, they might just be killed out of revenge. The heroes began to get indignant and angry. They asked if she thought it was their fault. The girl announced that she would no longer work with them. The hero said that such an adventure is not fun at all. She started crying and said she wanted to go home. The princess began to think that they could send a squad of knights to help, but then the people and sponsors would consider it a failure of the hero. She knew that she couldn't avoid violent protests, and she understood that they had brought them into this world themselves, so they couldn't leave these people to their fate. Sayaka stated that she would go and rescue Noba. She said that she has a skill to enhance the effect of objects, with which she can make a strong potion for the porter. The girl's friend asked her what she was thinking about. She stopped her and asked her how she was going to get to the third floor with her martial profession. Mizusawa joined Sayaka's idea and said that he would serve with her. The guy did not know that the fracture required proper treatment and said he would help. The princess knew Mizusawa as a versatile hero with attack, support, and healing skills. Besides, he had medical knowledge from the old world. The girl said it was great news and asked if he would be okay because he had just returned from a hike. Mizusawa assured me that everything was fine. He said that they were only on the first floor, so they didn't feel tired, and added that in any case, they were going to go to the third floor the day after tomorrow. Akaba was angry at the way the hero of the Blue Sea behaved. Mizusawa wasn't sure if they could safely get a non-combat team member there, so he asked the alchemist what her level was. Sayaka said that she reached level 18 yesterday. All the heroes present were not expecting such an answer. The girl said that her stats are pretty high. She had practiced using combat throwing objects, so she was confident that she would not let the team down. Mizusawa said they would form a small group for speed and leave immediately after the training camp. Sayaka's friends started to worry about her. She didn't understand why she, an artisan, would take such a risk. The girl admitted that she couldn't stand it if something happened to her. Sayaka replied that she would definitely come back. The alchemist looked at the princess and nodded. A squad led by the hero of the Blue Sea went to the dungeon to rescue Nobe. Sayaka wasn't going to turn away anymore. She thought Fujii would have done the same if he had been with them. The heroes fought monsters. Noba recalled how he was bullied at school. He thought that even in the new world, nothing had changed. The guy was helpless in front of his abusers. He was sure that help would not come for him. Niba suddenly woke up and saw Sayaka, who was glad that the guy had woken up. The hero of the Blue Sea was also nearby. The hero said that they had come to save him. He advised him to drink water, as the porter was severely dehydrated. The young man could not believe that they had really come for him. Mizusawa told Niba to be grateful to Sayaka. It was her potions that helped him survive and heal his wounds. The porter began to cry and thanked the heroes for saving him. This incident has completely ruined Akaba's reputation. His team was divided into 3 groups. Now the four heroes were acting separately and openly feuding. At that time, Touya participated in training with the knights, where he was tormented by an evil instructor. Fortunately, after the arrival of the muscular Gandharban and Rosarina, the direct fights with Balkan were reduced. The young man noticed that Annalise was clearly uncomfortable in the castle. The girl tried to stay away because she was a criminal. The hero found her on the street and invited her to go to lunch together. Annalise wanted to agree, but she also didn't want to inconvenience the master. The girl was about to say that she still had work to do, but the guy took her hand. Touya said he didn't care what the others said, as he wanted to be with her, and added that the knight still remembered how she had helped defeat the bandits. When the Baron met with Zaijin, the man said that freeing the goblin from slavery would not be a problem. However, the situation was more complicated with the elf, since she was a slave of a second-rate criminal. Zaijin suggested that the Duke could release her by his decree, but society would not understand if it was not a reward or punishment. The man remembered that the girl was cursed with aging, which caused the accident. He understood that then it was possible to talk about mitigation of punishment. Zaijin promised that she would report this to the Duke and advised the hero to return to training. A blow from Gandharban's shield brought Touya out of his thoughts. The man told the owner not to be distracted. The hero thought that although the bear was cruel, it was still better than the Balkan. Rosalina and the instructor were training behind them. She activated her skill and said she would fight with her full strength. Balkan noticed that she also had a fighting spirit. The girl felt that her opponent had a wild fighting spirit, but she was determined not to back down. Rosaline's fist and Balkan's sword met each other. Touya thought they were incredible. The hero's weekdays were spent in training, and on weekends he and his squad went to the dungeon to fight bosses. Touya told the beastmen that they would make 5 more rounds of the floors. The squad considered the Baron to be another evil coach. The hero has upgraded his class to a rare sword master. He had fulfilled the hidden conditions of defeating bosses long ago, and training had made this class available. The sword master was incredibly strong. The young man noticed that his skills included counterattacks, precision strikes, and self-support. It was useful for him to alternate abilities. With their help, Touya could immediately defeat cows on the floors. The guy thought that being officially listed as a traveler sounded undignified, so he decided to fix the class change specifically at the temple, which cost him 200,000 yen. Touya has now officially become the Baron of the Sword Master's box office. When he met Balkan, he noticed that people were looking at him with admiration. Annalise trained with the magicians attached to the Knight Order. It seemed to him that she was explaining the basis of the magical perception skill. Her colleague was surprised that she uses the skill around the clock. The girl said that improving sensitivity to magic promotes progress in all other aspects of magical control, which was why it was the shortest way. She added that over time, they will even be able to distinguish between people. Touya noticed the reactions of the other magicians, and he wondered if Annalise hadn't said something creepy to them. He couldn't believe that she had been living like this all this time, in total concentration mode. Solidia and Lin complained more about the fact that they had training sessions and dungeon trips every day. Bars noticed that it was because of this that their levels rose sharply. Jajak said that they would become much stronger if they continued to follow their master. 3 weeks later, there was talk of a terrible event in the city. In the entertainment district of the city, the murders of girls took place one after another. The victims' throats were slit. Over the past month, the number of people killed has exceeded 10. Because of this, the knights were urgently sent to patrol the city, and the training ended a week earlier. Balkan announced that the intensive training of the futsal was completed and added that they would continue it if necessary. The man ordered the squad to start patrolling. Touya confessed to Annalise that although he was happy about the end of training, he was worried about serial murders. The hero was asked to go to the Duke. In the office, Arkin thanked Touya for participating in the training. He noticed that the young man had already recruited people for himself and said that Zaijin had already reported to him about the case of his companions. The man said that he could not give him a definitive answer yet, but promised that he would make efforts to do so. The Duke said he wanted to talk about the recent murders known as the Nest Thug case. He understood that Touya might not have heard about it since he had recently arrived in the city. Arkin said that more than 10 years ago in Elknife, the serial killer Nest was executed for the murders of 8 girls. The man noticed that a murder was happening again with the same handwriting. The Duke said there were already more than 10 victims this time. He believed that this was the work of a professional killer. Touya was not encouraged by this. The man asked if Baron had any information about the case, but the young man did not understand what he was talking about. Then Arkin decided to say it bluntly. He confessed that he wanted him to catch the thug Nest. Rosarina was officially accepted into service as a soldier, and she was assigned to the Gandalban detachment. The girl hoped that she and the commander would work together. Lin and Solidia were surprised that Rosarina was taking a bath with Mr. Toy. Gandibald reminded the girl that from now on she was a soldier, and therefore she had to maintain proper relations with her master. Goblin said that she would now take a bath with the commander. The bear replied that he did not mean that at all. Taking a bath with Solilia, Lin admitted that she would never have thought that she would walk into the maze every day and then also swim in the tub. Her friend agreed with her. The cat thought that all aristocrats were arrogant people, but their master was completely different. Lisa added that the young man was also nice. There was a girl sitting next to him and they asked who she was. The hero had a separate servants' wing in the mansion, so he decided that his squad would live there. Although they were technically vassals, they were actually members of the Labyrinth Exploration Group. Even someone as capable as Mondolok and his men couldn't handle everything. In general, it was convenient when the servants lived nearby. He also hired another maid and a cook. The girl's name was Kenny. To her, the Baron was a wonderful young man. When greeting her, she accidentally fell in front of the gentleman. Toy knew that Kenny was very timid and didn't get along well with people, but he had heard that when she was alone, she was excellent at her job. The young man helped her up and greeted her. The cook introduced himself as Zappa. He said that the kitchen could be entrusted to him and apologized for not being able to speak politely. The hero knew that the man was from the south. He was an even better cook than Merle's. For the sake of experiment, Toy taught the man a couple of dishes from his world, and Zappa reproduced them almost perfectly. In addition, the young man himself has slightly increased the skill level of cook. There have been no new gifts since the Night Order led by Mr. Vulcan began patrolling. Annalise and Toy were standing on the balcony. The girl asked if the young man was thinking about that killer. The guy confirmed and reminded that the Duke had asked him to deal with this issue. Although the attack was stopped, however, the hero was not sure that the killer had left the city. The guy suggested that he could just lie low, and as soon as the knights relaxed their vigilance, the criminal could start killing again. Toy told the Duke that he didn't think he could help. The man said that the city guard had been trying to track him down for a month, but to no avail. The Lord believed that they could not find a better candidate than the Baron. The hero understood that since he had asked Arcane for Annalise's release, he had no choice but to agree. The young man sighed and promised that he would do everything in his power, but he could not guarantee success. Since then, Toy had used the stealth skill several times to search the night city, but he hadn't found any suspicious individuals. The young man sat on the bed and thought. He did not know either the motives of the criminal or his identity. The hero was wondering if the executed murderer could rise from the dead. He understood that it could be a copycat. The guy wanted to lie down on the bed, but accidentally lay down on Annalise's lap and apologized. The girl patted him on the head and confessed that at such moments, she remembers the days when they had just started exploring the dungeons. Toy remembered that Annalise had moved into the soldiers' barracks. The young man blushed. He didn't understand if it seemed to him that a romantic atmosphere had formed around them. Suddenly, there was a knock on their door. It was Mondolok. The young man asked what happened. He was informed that Canny had not returned from the store. Toy was surprised that the girl went shopping at such a late hour. Jewel apologized because he made a mistake when checking the ordered products, and Kenny decided to go to the store herself. The maid said that the girl should have returned an hour ago. Besides, there were bad rumors around the city. Mondarch said that he and his son would go look for a maid. Toy stopped them, telling them to leave it to him because it would be faster. The heavyweight knight wanted to join the master, but the master said that he and the soldiers would remain in charge of the mansion. However, Gandalbin was determined. Toy agreed to take Boss and Jajak with him. The three of them ran through the streets of the city. The store Kenny went to was on the main shopping street. She was far from the pleasure district where she was less likely to be attacked. However, the hero suggested that the killer could be looking for a victim just where the knights were not patrolling. The young men had a bad feeling. Toy told the soldiers that he would run forward. Kenny was walking with a bag of groceries. The girl did not expect that she would be so late due to a delivery error, but they gave her some groceries as an apology. The maid decided to hurry up because she didn't want to inconvenience Mr. Jewel. Kenny decided to take a shortcut even if the alley was dark. She walked along it for a bit when she heard a sound behind her and jumped. The girl turned around. She felt that someone was following her. Kenny started running away when she didn't see the stairs and started falling, dropping the package.